Part 56. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 567. Here is the place where Freya has completed the blood test. Natalia was curious and looked around. It seems to have changed a lot with Charlotte. Please lie in quietly, Nada. Ziwei opened the nutrition bin, which was refilled with fresh nutrient solution. After taking a deep breath, Natalia took off all the clothes and decorations and steadily stepped into the nutrition bin. The mechanical arm needle took a small amount of blood from her body and began the experimental analysis. On the image, you can see that Natalia's blood carries a lot of pale green mitochondria, which belongs to the blood of the wind that has been awakened. The rest of the blood does not have any structure beyond human tissue. It seems that Natalia does not have the golden lion's blood. No matter how microscopic level of detection, the hidden characteristics of the golden lion's blood cannot be found. The experiment was in a dilemma at the beginning. Detecting from the energy level, Ziwei opened the real magic eye, which is already the last resort. Although the real magic eye can see the camouflage and observe the target from a more subtle level, the whole process is accompanied by the rapid consumption of Ziwei's own mental power and tremendous pressure on the eyes and the whole brain. In particular, when Ziwei focuses on more in-depth realities, this consumption will increase dramatically. Even if Ziwei defeats Dai masters, the mental power has greatly increased, and only the true magic eye can fully maintain a quarter of an hour. Under the full activation of the real eye, Ziwei's vision passed through the surface of Natalia's blood, as if it had been magnified by a magnifying glass. It was able to directly observe the energy changes at the cell level. At this moment, all the heterogeneous mitochondria hidden inside the cell and identical to the human mitochondrial surface were finally exposed. Under the real magic eye, these mitochondria appear dark gold and contain terrifying energy. Although the number of heterologous mitochondria is less than 1/10 that of human mitochondria, less than 1/3 of the light green mitochondria of the wind's elf blood, but the West is already certain that these rare mitochondria with near-perfect camouflage are the blood of the golden lion. Inherited. But these heterogeneous mitochondria are all asleep, and Ziwei marks the mitochondria with subtle to the ultimate mental power, and each heterogeneous mitochondria shines with faint white light. Dispersing the mental power to such a delicate and microscopic level is the high-end secret technique of Ziwei's spiritual inheritance. Although Ziwei can barely do it now, the spiritual power consumption is very fast. Next, at the beginning, various methods were used to stimulate these heterogeneous mitochondria labeled by Ziwei with mental power, and try to activate the blood in the sleep. After more than 15 sets of comparative experiments, the combination of the final microshock and a large number of proliferations allowed these heterogeneous mitochondria to reach an active peak. Although it has not yet reached the level of awakening, it is already the limit that Ziwei and Zero can do now. The upper limit is the golden lion blood of the sanctuary strong, and it is more difficult to activate than the various 8 order or even legendary blood vessels that Ziwei had previously contacted. In the process of blood proliferation, the various high-energy substances and vitamins in the Ziwei reserve are extremely rapidly consumed. However, the proliferation of the golden lion's blood is very unsmooth. It seems that due to the lack of a certain key substance, the conversion efficiency is very low. Although during this time, the Blood Research Laboratory kept carrying out the cultivation and storage of microorganisms and high-energy substances required for blood proliferation, but almost exhausted all the experimental materials, and finally only got less than 400 ml of gold lion blood. Among the 400 milliliters of carefully cultivated gold lion blood, the proportion of heterogeneous mitochondria has increased significantly, almost equal to the number of normal human mitochondria, which is more than double the mitochondria of the wind. According to the blood experiment before Ziwei, I want to activate the blood in a person's body, at least more than 1,200 milliliters of blood with blood circulation, and it is still a lot worse. Wearing a white coat and looking up at Ziwei, he will decide to stop the test or continue. Ziwei is in meditation, and the transformation of blood is irreversible. If you can't provide enough spare blood, it is very likely to produce paralysis in the process of blood circulation. However, the high-energy materials and microbial reserves in the entire laboratory have been exhausted, and the reason for the inefficient conversion of the golden lion's blood is not found. I am afraid that I want to complete the awakening for Natalia. Natalia has the blood of a golden lion in her body, and the blood of the golden lion that is needed to awaken the blood will be much less. In the end, Ziwei handed over the choice to Natalia, whether he chose to take risks now, or a more stable experiment after at least 3 months. I feel that my whole body is boiling and burning, my heart is beating vigorously. This is a challenge for me, I am ready. Ziwei, start experimenting, Natalia. The idea passed down is firm and powerful. At this moment, she is a real warrior. Ziwei nodded, and the blood of 400 milliliters of gold lion began to slowly inject into Natalia's body. The injection of a large amount of high-energy blood made Natalia's breathing more and more urgent, her chest was undulating, and the skin of the whole body began to redden. When all 400 milliliters of blood were injected, Ziwei calmly said, "Start energizing." The electricity of the Orient world belongs to the accompanying process of the transformation process between elements. Although the large-scale industrial production of electricity is not currently available, the Blood Research Laboratory has connected the element pool under the high tower, which can be controlled by elemental reaction. Stable current. After the blue and white electro-optic began to shine in the entire nutrition bin, Natalia's body began to twitch, although Natalia forced to control her body, but the reaction became more and more intense. 0 moments. Monitor the changes in Natalia's body. At this moment, the activity of the heterogeneous mitochondria in the blood reaches its peak. The next moment, the magical change took place in front of it. The golden light permeated from the inside of the mitochondria, dyeing the entire mitochondria into golden yellow. As if the fire of the stars ignited the entire prairie, the mitochondria and the cells that were sleeping in one fell into golden yellow, and the surface shone brightly and brightly. The consumption rate of the nutrient solution in the whole nutrition bin has risen sharply, the red light on the nutrition bin shines, and the alarm bell also sounds in the whole blood laboratory. Zero does not hesitate to increase the speed of nutrient solution delivery. The liquid in the entire nutrition bin is very fast, just like the waves, rushing to Natalia's body. Gradually, the blood in Natalia's heart was dyed from gold to golden yellow. In contrast, the blood of the wind elves was also stimulated, and the pale green mitochondria in the cells began to glisten. Natalia was unconscious. Open the wind elf awakening. The 2 blood vessels began a fierce battle and conflict in Natalia, and Ziwei had to rejoice that only 400 milliliters of gold lion blood was proliferated. Because this golden blood is so overbearing and wild, it is rampant in Natalia's blood vessels, making a dramatic transformation of her entire body. Although the golden yellow lion's blood is far less than the pale green wind elf blood, this overbearing golden blood starts from the heart of Natalia and charges along the artery and goes directly to her brain. This is a change beyond the expectations of Ziwei, which is a very dangerous situation. The human brain of Orient is also very sophisticated, and Natalia is not a magician. Her soul and brain are far more vulnerable than Ziwei. Just as Ziwei wanted to cross the soul and help Natalia to suppress this golden torrent, the next moment, the wonderful changes happened again. Natalia's entire body was golden yellow, and a golden phantom appeared above her body. It was a male lion with 2 golden wings. This is the earliest lion of the heavens. The early days of the Orient continent can be compared with the dragon, occupying the top-level magical creature golden lion at the top of the food chain. Natalia's entire soul has been ingested, which should ultimately be enough to determine the fate of Natalia. Ziwei has been unable to do anything anymore. The golden shadow has isolated the spiritual link between Ziwei and Natalia. He can only help Natalia's body continue to strengthen in the nutrient solution, but can't help Natalia completed the challenge of this awakening. When the golden blood began to gather at the heart, Natalia felt a powerful and unparalleled power and confidence occupying her entire body, giving her a feeling of refreshing to the extreme. When this golden blood enters the brain along the aorta, her soul is taken into the golden shadow of the hole, and the surrounding scene changes rapidly. Natalia found that she was no longer a personal class, but a hare with golden wings and pale gold. It was the mighty golden lion. It was surrounded by the virgin forest, and the tall trees were over 100 meters high. There are all kinds of powerful magical creatures in the forest. Natalia explored a forepaw and took the first step in the jungle. She was the first to live in a non-human form. But she does not seem to be a human being, but a hegemon who has always lived in this virgin forest. She jumped and could travel so far in the sky. With a gentle wave, a big tree with a diameter of several meters collapsed. Gently fanning the golden wings, Natalia flew up, and she was used to flying when she mastered the blood of the wind, but now she just changed the way of flying. In a short quarter of an hour, Natalia adapted to this new life. In the whole virgin forest, although she is not yet an adult, she is already a legendary level of magical creatures, and is a well-deserved king. She began to inspect her own territory like a real king. All the creatures wherever they went were chilling. Whether it was a primitive image of more than 10 meters high, or a thunderbird of the heavenly sky flying above the sky, they bowed in front of her. She is the real king. Natalia flew out of this endless virgin forest, on the edge of a prairie where a herd of wild horses, bison, and antelope lived. Natalia was suddenly dominated by a strong sense of hunger. She selected a group of tall and mighty bisons, swooping down from the sky, using the fangs and claws that they could easily shred the boulder to surface the buffalo. Tough to the ultimate for all tiers, and then enjoy a meal. So Natalia began to enjoy this wonderful life as a king in her own territory. When she was hungry, she went hunting, and when she was thirsty, she went to drink water and had all kinds of magical fruits. According to the rising sun, Natalia has lived in this wilderness for more than a month in the form of a golden lion. She has not let go of her efforts to hone her strength. This month, she has traveled all over the field to challenge a variety of magical and powerful magical creatures. There are two-headed dragons that can spur fire and ice, horror worms that can swallow rocks and sand, butterflies that are extremely poisonous with colorful spots, and mountain giants that are taller than hills. These are at least legendary enemies, and Natalia itself is still in the growth period. Some battles she can win, some battles she will fail, and several times there is danger to her life. However, the golden lion itself has a strong self-healing ability, even if the injury is heavy, to the extent that life is dying, it can be restored in 3 days. In this tempering process, Natalia grew up day by day, and her head was already twice as high as a month ago. And Natalia is, after all, a knight who is about to step into the master. Although she is a golden lion, she has not forgotten her fighting skills. And in the discussion with the high-order change magician Ilya, she has also experienced the battle mode of the beast form many times. So Natalia began to gradually control the power of the golden lion. She continued to challenge the enemies who had defeated her and crushed them all at one foot. At this point, Natalia finally became the strongest king of the whole land, and all life was at her feet. The thunderbird of heaven sent her the crown of the blue sky, and the giants of the mountains offered her the scepter of the earth. It was cold day by day, the leaves began to yellow, and then fluttered. The earth was covered with a new white dress, and almost all the creatures hid in the nest, and the heavens and the earth became extremely cold. In this cold winter, Natalia headed the crown of the blue sky, carrying the earth scepter and climbing the highest mountain in the distance. The thick golden hair blocked her from the cold, and her entire body was full of muscular muscles with explosive power and speed. From the mountains of several kilometers high overlooking the whole earth, the vast land is endless, and there is no end to any distance. Wherever the vision is, my territory, my kingdom and me, is the one who is unique and supreme. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 568. Just then, Natalia's eyes were black. When she opened her eyes again, she found herself lying in the bedroom on the third floor of Violetberg. As soon as she turned around, she saw Ziwei. He was sleeping, quiet like a child. Natalia knows that Ziwei has only 4 magical sleep hours per day, so he is not anxious to bother him. She stood up dexterously and came to the huge floor-to-ceiling window, which was facing the white sand beach. But at this time it should still be in the early hours of the morning, the sky is bright, and the white belly is turned up. Natalia began to check the changes that happened to her. The muscles of her whole body were as smooth as leopards, and they contained explosive power. Natalia stretched out her index finger and pressed it gently on the marble wall in front of her. The index finger fell deep into the rock wall. Such a terrible power! Natalia took a deep breath, and the blood of the wind elf was agile and speedy, so her strength has not been high. In the previous battle, she could only rely on Superman's agility and powerful swordsmanship to fight. But now, her power has increased by more than 5 times. Natalia used a fruit knife to gently smear a scar on her palm. The blood beads exuded were pale gold. Although there was no golden color like the golden lion, the wound was visible at the naked eye. Healed. Soon, the wound was completely healed, and Natalia's hand was still white and powerful, as if she had never been hurt. At this moment, Natalia can finally confirm that she passed the trial of the golden lion and awakened the blood of the hidden golden lion in the body. This means that for the first time in the millennium, people outside the Charlie family have awakened the blood of the golden lion, the most beautiful bloodline of the Orient continent. Natalia is the daughter of Princess Olivia, the granddaughter of King Charles VII, who knows some of the mysteries about the inheritance of the golden lion's blood. For so many years, no member of the Charlie family has acquired the inheritance of the golden lion in this magical way. She feels that she is now full of enthusiasm. According to Ziwei, it is the soul level that has jumped and jumped. This is a very rare adventure for every knight. It is necessary to know that the inheritance of the knights is very lacking in the means of training the soul and the spirit. The low level of the soul limits the future achievements, and even the level of the soul is tied to the life. Natalia took a deep breath and began to spur the blood of the golden lion that had already awakened. The blood in her body began to transform rapidly, and the golden glow shone from every different mitochondria of every cell. A stronger force awakened from her blood, and her body changed dramatically. If the activation of the blood of the wind elf is only to make Natalia more beautiful, surrounded by the atmosphere of the wind, the activation of the golden lion's blood is to make Natalia's height soaring nearly 20 centimeters, her white gold is long. The hair also turned golden in a flash, and the original blue eyes also shimmered with dazzling golden awns, giving her a powerful majesty and momentum. Natalia, who is awakened, feels that her whole body's strength has skyrocketed again. It can be said that she can easily defeat 10 of her yesterday, which is the hegemony of the golden lion's blood. With more than half a year of survival and combat experience in the illusion, Natalia mastered the blood of the golden lion under the activation almost instantly. Although this body is still human, she is so familiar with each point. Power. Ziwei was awakened by the sudden burst of breath. When Natalia in the nutrition bin stayed in the golden lion's shadow for 27 magic, the nutrient solution consumed at least 15 cubic meters. This is the end of the blood transformation, returning to calm. When Ziwei walked out of the nutrition bin with the sleeping Natalia, the whole nutrition warehouse was already hot and hot, many parts were damaged, and it was difficult to put them into use without long-term maintenance. 11 Wei was in a high-profile, bodybuilding girl. Her muscles were completely streamlined and did not destroy her beauty. Her feelings are full of powerful power and mighty momentum, as if a female Valkyrie is generally dazzling, people can't help but want to surrender and follow her. Natalia at this moment is the perfect combination of strength and beauty. This is the first time that Ziwei saw Natalia awakening the blood of the golden lion. Natalia swept like a lion on Ziwei's body, and Ziwei's dark blue pajamas were instantly torn into countless pieces. After a month of eternal blessings, Ziwei also has the perfect figure that rivals the white marble statues carved by the greatest artists of mankind, and has a deadly appeal to Natalia. So Natalia followed the knight's instinct and immediately drove her mountain. "I thank you from the heart, you gave me the second life, Ziwei," Natalia said in the ear of Ziwei. Her hands are constantly moving around in the body of Ziwei. Ziwei extended his hands and grasped the towering of Natalia's chest. "Dear, you are not only taller, but it seems to be perfect here too. Let me give you back and give you the king's enjoyment." Natalia showed her charm to the ultimate smile, the rhythmic vibration of the smooth and tight slender waist, as if playing a light drum. When Ziwei woke up again, it was already at noon. Last night, Natalia was almost in madness, full of aggressive and wild charm, and asked for the madness of Ziwei, which made Ziwei feel a bit unbearable for the first time. When Ziwei walked into the restaurant with the mage robe, he found that everyone had started the lunch. "Natalia, Charlotte, and Ilya are all here." When I saw him, Charlotte's face was full of mysterious smiles. Natalia patted her hands very quickly. The steaming food floated out. Oyster sea cucumber soup, braised yak meat, fried shrimps. "This is my dedication to let you prepare for you." 11 Wei's face is black and can't bear it. This is questioning his fighting power. 11 Wei eventually blackened his face and used up the lunch in the mysterious smiles of Natalia and Charlotte. This is really a shame. Take time to develop some spells and never be a loser. "Nada, can you tell me what happened to you in the Golden Lion's shadow?" After the lunch, Ziwei began to pursue Natalia. After being recognized by Natalia, the spirit of Ziwei slowly penetrated from Natalia's temple and extracted the memory of the illusion. Combined with the inheritance of the Charlie family learned from Natalia, Ziwei classifies the strange phenomenon that happened in Natalia as the original inheritance of the returning ancestor. With the inheritance of generation after generation, almost every blood is inevitably thinning down, even those who challenge the secular ethics, only the aristocrats who choose marriage within the family. However, Ziwei's blood laboratory can stimulate the mitochondrial awakening of the blood vessels in the cell by cultivating special blood for artificial proliferation, which plays a significant role in increasing the blood concentration in the body. Natalia is undoubtedly a lucky one. Her long-lasting fantasy experience not only awakens her blood to the golden lion, but more importantly, the soul has reshaped. "How is your current state?" Ziwei confirmed. "Perfect, never been so good," Natalia responded with a smile. "Then I will take you to a new trial." What 11 Wei is going to do for Natalia is the endless trial of the river. In order to complete the Styx trial, there must be a certain degree of soul level and soul toughness. In the process of promotion to the magician, the mid-level magician, and the reshaping of the four-hearted lake, Yang and Meryl have reached the basic conditions for the trial of the soul of the river. Now, Natalia has reached the basic requirements for completing the trial of the Styx because of the adventures in the illusion. For the new trial, Natalia eager to try, Ziwei once again sacrificed the sacrifice, with Natalia's soul appeared on the edge of the endless river. At this moment, Ziwei can finally see the soul form of Natalia. Her form is not the flame of the soul of ordinary people, nor the shape of diamonds after Ziwei's meditation in the endless river, but a golden lion form. Although there are some cartoons, they are alive and well. Under the protection of Ziwei, Natalia strengthened her conviction and stepped into the endless river of silence. Without the expectation of Ziwei, Natalia completed the trial of the Styx, and the soul resublimated after the training. Her soul is still the appearance of a golden lion. It is more cohesive and gleaming after the sublimation. It is only judged from the degree of toughness, between the soul of the diamond and the dream star. After the soul's continuous jump, Natalia's control of her body and chi is raised again. It can be said that she is only separated by a layer of window paper from the master. As long as the true digestion and absorption of the strength, knowledge, and skills of the 2 days of proliferation, Natalia can begin to challenge his master. After all this, 11 Wei also breathed a sigh of relief. Natalia's future is already bright. However, there was not much time left for Zai Wei himself. After completing the construction of the elemental inscription, his body could not restrain himself from starting to transform into the master class. In order to get more feedback and rewards through the master's certificate, Zai Wei must go to the spiritual dream plane again and hammer his soul inheritance to the master level. Before leaving for the spiritual dream plane, Zai Wei once again went to the laboratory of the Sea of Elements. Zero and Kristen were finalizing and improving the elemental steam engine, and it seems that they will soon be done. Everything went smoothly. Zai Wei launched the astral shuttle spell, and the spiritual power connected the horizon of the mind's dream plane, once again entered this mysterious and strange plane. The spiritual dream plane once again segregated the flesh and blood of Zai Wei from the plane of the plane. Only his soul and spiritual power can come in through the plane barrier. The entire plane is only dark and pale, and looks like an ink painting from a distance, but with a full of gloomy and horrible feelings. Zai Wei's spiritual body is drastically changing like a flowing water. His body is thin and tall, wearing a pale robes and a pale mage hat. His face is hidden under the brim. This is the master of Da-ei in the soul. Presentation in a dream. The spiritual dream plane is not, and many places are not, under the control of the spiritual masters. There are 3 mysterious places and even a fatal danger to Da-ei, who is a master of spiritual magic. His master, the legendary caster, is white. The Raven's Day Schiller's warning. In the spiritual dream plane, a large part of the law has changed compared with the reality. If you are not careful, you may usher in the fate of death, so this is a crisis plane. Zai Wei confirmed his position and began to move toward the master tower belonging to Master Da-ei. The entire wilderness is dark, and only the most oriental sky has a white light. There is the White Crow City. Da-ei's master tower is on the outskirts of White Crow City. Walking in the wilderness of the spiritual dream is a novel experience, whether it is time, distance, orientation, people, or things. All rely on mental stimulation, not visual. The spiritual power of the spiritual masters is exercised in this environment. Since the discovery and migration to the spiritual dream plane, the soul magicians are no longer the priests of the Inquisition, the knights, and replaced with the horror of the aborigines and beasts in the face of the soul. The soul hunter, the aboriginal of the soul dream plane, is a natural fighting race, hunting for the spiritual beasts in the wilderness. No matter who is a human or a beast, there is only one way to eat, that is, to defeat the enemy and completely devour the spirit of the other party. The master of the mind does not need to engrave the spell model in the soul. They need to perform a glory hunting in the wild land deep in the dream of the soul, defeat the powerful horror spirit beast, and absorb the essence of the enemy. Cross this threshold. This was originally the secret of the spiritual hunter's promotion. White Raven's Day Schiller conquered a huge soul hunter race and turned them into helpers and servants of the spiritual wizards, so this secret was also mastered by Schiller. Improvements for the promotion of spiritual wizards. It is not only the master class, but also the promotion of the magician from the apprentice, the promotion to the middle class, and the promotion of the golden level can be accomplished through glory hunting, but the spiritual beasts of hunting are different. Dark, bright, sharp, star, sly, 5 levels of spiritual beasts, corresponding to the first, middle, high, master, and legendary occupation. 11 Wei now has reached the 6th order peak of his spiritual power. He needs to hunt a powerful star spirit beast, complete a glory hunting, and promote his soul to the master class. To be continued. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 569. All the way to the White Crow City, the front is getting brighter, and even the wilderness of the feet began to gradually reveal the white light of the end. Gradually, there is a road under the feet. There are also people in the vision of Ziwei. They are not wearing robes, but they are skillful shorts, holding white bone spears and holding white hounds. These people are white residents in the city of Crow, soul hunters. There are a huge number of white crows hovering in the sky inside and outside White Crow City. They dance in the sky between black and white. These white crows belong to the creation of Shaler, the master of White Crow. Davy is one of the 4 8th order soul magic masters of White Crow City, and he is also a disciple of Schiller of White Ravens, young and promising. His master tower is called the Dream Tower, located in the south of the White Crow City, facing the vast and innocent Kurdi wilderness, where a large number of spiritual beasts live, which is the best place to hunt. The Dream Tower is not just Davy's own master tower, but also the core point of the White Crow City against the Kurdi wilderness. There are more than 50 soul magicians and 500 soul hunters in the master tower, all loyal to this promising master of spiritual magic. The building in the dream of the mind is as wonderful as the whole environment. The White Tower of the Dream is about 50 meters high. It looks like a white waterfall that spurts down and illuminates the dark rock. See Master Davy, Ziwei just walked around the Master Tower. The 4 soul hunters at the gate fell to the ground with one knee. They were high-level professionals, powerful hunters, and Da'i's servants. The soul hunter is the aboriginal of the spiritual dream. It has the special skill of hunting spirits that has been passed down for thousands of years. The spears-like bones in their hands are the sharpest and most aggressive weapons, which can be easily shredded. Part of the beast or the spirit of the enemy. The spiritual master's inheritance also draws on the elite spiritual skills of many soul hunters. It used this part of the soul secret technique that Davy used in the battle with Ziwei. Ziwei faced the 4 soul hunters and nodded lightly, then headed into the white waterfall. At the moment of entering the white waterfall, the whole body of the spirit instantly collapsed and became a stream of water flowing upwards. There were layers of barriers and protection along the way. However, all the secrets of Da'i's soul had been captured. The verification was completed and went directly to the highest level of the Master Tower. The top of the Mage Tower is a white vortex, with a dark hole in the center, and the white waterfall is venting from here. The sculptures and specimens of the glittering spiritual beasts are hung in the lacquered black high walls. These are the powerful enemies that Davy has hunted by glory on the road to the master of spiritual magic. It is his favorite collection. Product. Not only that, these spirited beasts, which have been honored by glory, have been made into the magical creatures. 11 Wei extended his hand to remove a snake-shaped beast scepter with wings. Although it was dead, it still retains a strong spiritual atmosphere. At least it was a star spirit beast. 11 Wei learned from his memory that Da'i had successfully defeated the star-shaped feather snake in the glory hunting before he successfully promoted the master class. The most powerful ability of this kind of star feather snake is a kind of horrible disintegration gaze. As long as it is stared at by black hole eyes, the enemy's spiritual body will quickly weaken and crack, or even maintain a hole. The body of this star-shaped feather snake was made into a wand by the White Ravens, and still retains this horrible disintegration and gaze ability. Even if it is used outside the soul dream, it can easily enemies. The mental power has been greatly weakened. Obviously, this is a very powerful magic wand that belongs to the epic level of magical things. Ziwei had to be grateful that he had learned the Sky River Shock in the Endless River of Silence. This has always been the soul of the spell, otherwise even if he and the best efforts, it is impossible to defeat Da'i in the soul of the dream plane. In the inheritance of the soul, Ziwei is now only a high-level magician level, but also lacks practical experience. For this glory hunting, Ziwei cannot be taken lightly. Fortunately, White Raven's Schiller has not appeared in White Crow City for more than a decade. Ziwei is now worried about his identity. As long as he still maintains the disguise of Master Dai, here is his half-home. Thinking of this, Ziwei shakes a small white bell. Soon, 2 soul wizards and a soul hunter climbed the top of the Master Tower along the white waterfall. The 7-ring magic master Jacques, the 6-ring high-level magician Diffie, and the 7th order soul hunter Manu, they are the 3 highest powers under Dai in the Dream White Tower. Jacques is a disciple who has also studied with Schiller for a period of time. Deva's younger brother, Diffie, is a female spiritual master. It is the most outstanding disciple of Dai. Manu is the commander of 500 soul hunters. The strongest of the 7th order peak. I need to carry out a glory hunting. You immediately send a reconnaissance squad to the Kelty wilderness and choose a strong star spirit beast for me, 11 Wei said. Manu, you are a war-torn old man. Hunter, this time you will lead the team, I will only give you 2 days. After 11 Wei finished, he handed over a white bone emblem to Manu. As soon as he explored and marked the appropriate hunting object and activated the white bone emblem, Ziwei would be able to get accurate coordinates and transmit it directly. Manu's left hand on his chest, a respectful look at Ziwei. This is exactly what the soul hunter said must complete the task. Davy instructor, I also want to participate in the search and reconnaissance activity. Defy also began to consider the promotion of the master class. Can witness the situation of the mentor hunting star spirit beasts is a rare opportunity. Glory hunting can not only be used to promote the key level, but after a critical breakthrough will be made and the upper limit of the spiritual body will be raised again, the glory of the country will be hunted to raise its spiritual body to a new upper limit. The Kelty wilderness is so desolate and vast that it takes too long for Ziwei's ability to explore, but he can't afford it now. Therefore, Ziwei did not hesitate to choose the powerful force of the Dream White Tower, which will save him a lot of valuable time. Deva Master, are you going to check the progress of the masters in the Dream Tower? Master Jacques is almost always stationed in the White Tower. At the time when Davy was absent, he was the highest person in charge of the White Tower. Wait until I finish this glory hunting. Ziwei waved his hand and the 3 men retired at the same time. The highest level of the Dream Tower has the most precious treasures of Dai. The practice of several key spiritual secrets must rely on the treasures here, such as the disintegration gaze spell contained in the Starbucks. In the past 2 days, Ziwei was not wasted at all. He began to study and analyze the mystery of the soul at the highest level of the White Tower. When the time passed about 40 magic, the spiritual body of Ziwei suddenly flashed a white light, which is the sign of the activation of the white bone emblem. 11 Wei suddenly stood up, picked up the star-shaped feather snake staff, crossed a white portal, and appeared in the depths of the Kelty wilderness. The reconnaissance hunting team was 3 spiritual wizards and 30 soul hunters from the Dream White Tower yesterday. There are only 2 soul magicians and 12 soul hunters in front of Ziwei. Most of them are already scarred. Manu and Diffie are fighting ahead. The enemy is a group of horrible white spiders, each of which is at least 5 or 6 meters high, with a pale white glow. The leader is a spider knight wearing a delicate white bone armor. The upper body is a human form, and the lower body is completely a beast. Her height is more than 15 meters, holding a huge white bone axe in her hand. Her forehead is shining with a beautiful starburst, which means she is a star spirit beast. Manu, despite the help of Diffie, was also embarrassed in front of the star-studded knight. Although he was barely unbeaten, he could not help the elite investigative team that was gradually swallowed by the horrible spiders. It is already the deepest part of the Kelty wilderness, the dark wild land that the light of civilization does not shine, and the most promising place for star spirit beasts. However, glory hunting has strict requirements. It is necessary for the hunter to destroy a spiritual beast alone. Others can't touch it even if they touch it, otherwise it means the sorrow of glory hunting. Even if the battle wins, the gains will be greatly reduced. The white man's flashed, and the figure of Ziwei appeared on the sky. The soul hunter and soul mage of the Dream White Tower finally breathed a sigh of relief, and their master and mentor came. In the face of this situation, Ziwei did not hesitate to display the most powerful large-scale killing spells of the Master of the Seventh Ring Master's spells of the Soul Storm. This is the advanced version of the spiritual storm that the Silver Eagle once used in the final battle of the Deep Sea. It is also a large-scale killing spell that only the Master of Mind Magic can cast. 11 Wei has not been promoted to the Master of Mind Magic, but his finger is carrying a ring of spiritual storm stars that shines with white stars. This is also an epic magical thing. Dai once hunted by Glory and hunted a collection of star spirit beasts who are good at using the spirit storm spells. It is also one of the 3 most precious collections of the Dream Tower. The spiritual storm star ring allows Ziwei to easily display the spirit storm spell as a 6-ring soul magician. At this moment, the soul storm star flashed a dazzling white light, and the whole body of Ziwei also turned into a transparent blue, and the white flash of the starburst was illuminated inside the body. The next moment, the whole wilderness is shrouded in white electric light. Hey, the brains of the mighty and powerful white giant spiders exploded one after another. They couldn't resist this horrible shock. The miserable morning fell on the ground. All the surviving psychic mages and soul hunters huddled together for the first time, and they also lit up white masks and sheltered them. This is the White Raven coverage. Schiller developed a special protection against the psychic storm spells, to prevent their own members from being destroyed by the indiscriminate large-scale scrubbing of the psychic storm spell. In an instant, the white electro-optic wash, the original white spiders were harvested in pieces. Only the leading armored spider knight resisted the attack, but her body was already crumbling, apparently suffered a lot. 11 Wi-Fi fell to the ground and came to the front of the spider knight. Manu and Defy stopped and stood behind 11 Wei. Ziwei took out a deep purple orb, and it was so dazzling in the dream scene of almost 2 colors, black and white. The soul is the master of the orb, and the third is the last epic magical thing in the Dream Tower. It can dominate a powerful enemy and become a slave. The soul of the Lord of the Soul, with its dazzling purple light, directly hits the brain of the Spider Knight and penetrates the starburst on her forehead. The face of the Spider Knight has become awkward, and she is doing her best to make the final resistance. Her instinct tells her that if she fails, she will lose her sense of independence and become a slave to this horrible magician for life. However, the function of the spiritual dominance is so powerful, and Ziwei is also using the mystery of the soul to suppress the spirit of the Star Spider Knight, so the last resistance of the Spider Knight is defeated, and her brain is finally completely covered in dark purple. The next moment, the deep purple light was bright, and then disappeared, and Ziwei took over the treasure of the soul. The size of the Spider Knight has been greatly reduced to only 3 meters high, which is her usual daily form, and 15 meters is the battle form. She cleverly stood next to Ziwei, and her eyes behind the armor shone with deep purple light. This Star Spider Knight has become a slave to Ziwei, and the strength of the Dream White Tower has once again improved. Because the fighting power of the Star Spider Knight far exceeds the Dead Soul Magician and 18 Soul Hunters. Where is my glory hunting object? The cold voice of Ziwei echoed throughout the wilderness, and the time left for him was really urgent. There were less than 30 magical moments from the natural promotion masters. Manu fell to his knees on one knee. The respected master of Dai, the owner of the White Tower of Dreams, I have found the object of glory hunting for you. She is the king of this group of white spiders, a star spider, the nest is in this cave. This Spider Knight and these spiders are already the last guards around her. Ziwei nodded with satisfaction. Very good, Manu, now blocking the cave, never allow anyone to enter it. I will swear to defend Devi's master to complete this glory hunting, Manu responded with excitement. Glory hunting was originally a great inheritance of the soul hunter race for thousands of years, which is the highest sacred for any soul hunter. The code does not allow anyone to destroy. Devi instructor, can I go in? I just want to witness this glory hunting, Defy whispered. This is the scene of the mentor hunting the star beast, how helpful it is for her future hunting. Ziwei carefully thought about the scene where David was in peace with Diffie. He nodded, and did not say a word, turned and entered the cave. Defy was so happy that she quickly followed into Ziwei and walked in. Said to be a cave, the black rock mass has been almost hollowed out, the passage is so wide, the road and the walls are full of thick white spider silk, turning the original dark cave into a white spider kingdom. Walking along the passage to a very long distance, Ziwei finally saw the appearance of the star spider. At the center of the cave is a huge square. A huge beast that is terrifying is lying on the square. Her body is so fat, she is 7 or 8 meters high when she falls down. The whole body looks like a large piece of white jade, and the 8 slender legs are covered with a pale cyan luster. There are sharp fangs and barbs in front of her mouth, and there is a kind of near-sharp star on her head. It seems that there is a star growing on her forehead. This means that behind this spider is an 8th-order spiritual beast, and even if it is too long, it is possible to advance to a level spiritual beast that is comparable to a legendary creature. It seems that the old hunter of Manu is really finding the most suitable prey for Ziwei. It is necessary to know that the harvest of a level 8 spiritual master who hunted the 7th-order spiritual beast can be said to be minimal. However, it is for the true 8th-order soul magic master Dai, but the West Victoria has only the strength of the 6th-order soul spell. Around the back of the spider, there are large, dense white spider eggs distributed between the viscous white liquid and the spider web, giving the impression that it is so disgusting. Ziwei just entered this cobweb square. After the star spider, she opened her 4 pairs of compound eyes. She suddenly stood up, and a horrible spiritual pressure directed at Ziwei. Just the aftermath, let Diffie behind the westway trembled. She was so scared that she quickly retreated a lot, avoiding the frontal edge. Although Ziwei is only a 6-ring spiritual wizard, his spiritual body has been strengthened by the special composition of 0, and he has also gained the upper hand in the struggle against Dai. Therefore, facing the spiritual pressure of terror, Ziwei there is no worries. This is a powerful enemy and a perfect hunting object. As long as Ziwei can win this glory hunting, he can directly promote the spiritual master. I usually need to send a lot of servants to find delicious food. I didn't expect to have a delicious food today and jumped into my lair. It's a very happy thing. Sharp and hoarse the voice directly appeared in the spiritual consciousness of Ziwei. Usually the star beasts begin to wake up to the ingenuity and gradually grow up to compare the wisdom of human beings. This star spider is obviously not inferior to human beings from the perspective of wisdom. Your spider army has all died, fat spider. You have been me, the dream of the White Tower, the magic master Dai, selected as the object of glory hunting. This is your honor. 11 ways impassioned words at the same time. He also inserted a blood-red quaint battle flag, glory hunting flag. In the dreamland of the mind, any color other than black and white is so rare. The glory hunting flag is the most mysterious inheritance of the soul hunter tribe conquered by Schiller, dedicated to hunting stars. The magical creation of the battle of the spirit beast above the level. It can help the winner to perfectly absorb the essence of each other's spirit and integrate into his own spiritual body. The star spider is obviously irritated. She has lived in the dreamland for hundreds of years and naturally knows what glory hunting means. Undead battle. You are really crazy. Who gave you the courage to choose me as the object of glory hunting? If it is your mentor, the white crow is almost the same. After the spider was furious, her body suddenly lapped. Then, her terror was opened, and a large white confetti was thrown out and went straight to Ziwei. Ziwei's instant flash has changed the position, and space spells are rare spells that can play a role in the mind's dream plane. However, these white spider silks seem to have been precisely guided, firmly locked in the west, followed by him flashing and moving, never give up. And the star spider has been constantly spitting, and in just a few seconds, the number of these spiders is already terrible. While avoiding Ziwei also opened the real magic eye analysis to observe the composition of the spider silk and the weakness of the star spider itself. These spider silks are a mixture of mental energy and the medium inside the star spider, with a horrible consistency and corrosiveness, designed to deal with powerful prey. As for the star spider itself, her spiritual body has obviously been polished and strengthened for a long time. The jade-like shell has almost perfect protection, and most of the spiritual secrets cannot penetrate this jade shell, even it is the psychic storm spell that will be cut by most of this jade shell. The remaining energy naturally does not hurt the star spider with such a strong vitality. Just when Ziwei thought about how to win, the two sides had already come to me to fight for several rounds. Ziwei used the fire of the spirit to burn the approaching spider silk. However, his several attacks fell on the jade shell and did not hurt. No itching, almost no traces left. This is a very terrifying star beast. Almost all the secrets of the minds that Ziwei has mastered have been restrained by big and small. In this way, Ziwei can only choose the last killer. That is the sound of the river, pointing to the horror spell of the soul. Especially when Ziwei recently helped Yang, Meryl, and Natalia to enter the endless river to complete the trial of the sticks, he once again stepped into the endless river of silence, once again to experience the horrible shock of the endless river of the soul. And scouring. Especially when the purposeful observation is taken, the progress of Ziwei in the Sky River shock spell is also very amazing, far more mature than the previous battle against Dai. But before this, Ziwei still has to do one thing, that is, to break the jade shell on the back surface of the star spider, otherwise the power of the Stitch River will be greatly reduced. The 6,000-word chapter is completed for the last chapter of the Ice Master of the Lord. To be continued. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 570. Spell penetration and magic protection are undoubtedly spears and shields in the field of spells. Sharper spears mean that you can break the tortoise shell and attack the opponent's key, and the shield is stronger. This means that most of the spell damage is invalid and it is in an absolutely safe state. The star spider is a powerful creature born and raised in the soul of the dream. The jade shell on the surface of her body is formed through the accumulation of thousands of years of time. It can effectively protect almost all the spiritual secrets, even if it is master's spiritual secrets are also hard to do to her. However, in the real magic eyes of Ziwei, the real weakness of the star spider cannot be shaped. The real magic eye is not only used for research and analysis, but also sharper in battle. The star spider almost completely wrapped his body in the jade shell, but the horror of her spider silk is precisely the weakest place. Reversing the chaos, Ziwei directly displayed the 7-ring master spell in the space inheritance. This spell is composed of a 3rd-order void inscription, 6 second-order void inscriptions, and all 12 first-order void inscriptions. It is possible to confuse gravity, direction, up and down, and position in a large area, and only the caster himself is not affected. The last 12 third-order void inscriptions in space inheritance are very difficult to comprehend. For such a long time, Ziwei only comprehends the only 1-order third-order void inscription, so that this super strong 7-ring master spell can be combined. Under the influence of the reversal of the spell, the star spider instantly swayed like a fake wine. Some parts of her body were uncontrolled, and some were sucked by supergravity. On the ground, the huge body turned over and the soft belly was exposed to the vision of Ziwei. Ziwei Gao lifted the star-shaped feather snake staff and pointed the head of the star-shaped feather snake to the terror of the star spider. The next moment, the star-shaped feather snake let her spray, disintegrating and gazing, a grey light directly hit the terror of the star spider. The fangs in the horrible mouth of the spider were instantly destroyed by the aftermath of this disintegrating gaze, and the grey light directly rushed to the brain behind the star spider. This disintegration of the outer jade shell attack after the star spider has caused great damage to her. The jade shell around the brain after the star spider began to grow a grey spot, which is the effect of disintegration. Symbols of. Before Ziwei sent the flying body, he began to smash the star spider and fell into a chaotic opportunity to launch the Styx shock, and strive for a set of even strokes to completely kill the star beast and win this glory hunting. However, just before the start of the Styx shock, the star spider seemed to realize the danger of life. Her body instantly shrunk into a very regular ball, and the appearance was crystal white jade, which would be all vital. Protected in the middle. The diameter of the white jade ball, which has been reduced by the star spider, is more than 10 meters in diameter, but it is shrinking at a speed visible to the naked eye, but the crystal light on the surface of the jade shell is getting brighter and brighter. In the end, the white jade ball finally separated, and the shape of the star spider was greatly reduced to only 3 meters high. However, the jade shell of her body has been greatly improved in terms of thickness and defensive ability. Will it actually change? Damn Master, you have disrupted my plan, and the process of my promotion to the King of the Scorpion has been greatly delayed. The 4 pairs of compound eyes behind the star spider flashed a horrible green cold light. Obviously, this form is more suitable for combat. Influenced her evolution. Ziwei is very calm on the surface, but the vigilance in the heart has already mentioned the highest. In the next moment, after the transformation, the star spider directly spits out a large patch of viscous cobwebs. Ziwei just wants to start flashing, but finds the surrounding space. It became thick and watery, and his speed was greatly suppressed. No, not speed, but time. Ziwei responded instantly, and the whole person was in slow motion in the silent. The time lapse slowed down on himself, and the original momentary spellcasting action was extended to a long time that the spell could not be completed. Then, Ziwei was completely wrapped in a viscous spider web. He only had time to form a protective shield around the body with a mental barrier at the last minute. In an instant, Ziwei was wrapped in a thick spider web and turned into a huge white egg. After the transformation, the star spider was not too heavy. She climbed up quickly, and the terror was opened, a sharp one. The mouthpiece is aimed at the Siwei in the cobweb. In the shadow, Diffie slammed her mouth and did not dare to move. She did not think that the star spider was so terrible, even the Master Dai Master was in danger. Once the spider has used this sharp mouthpiece to the spirit of the body, then Davy instructors will most likely lose in this glory hunting. In any case, Ziwei did not think that the beast of a dreamland plane could master the very advanced ability of time. Although time delay is the most low-level one in the application of time ability, it can block any space movement. The cobweb of ability is a big killer. After thinking about it for so many years, this star spider has used this combination to kill countless powerful enemies, and this has evolved to the point where it is only the last step away from the beast. If it is in the mainland of Orient, Ziwei naturally can elementize the body to disintegrate this wave of offensive, but in the soul of the dream plane, the strength of Ziwei is greatly limited. At this moment, there is only one thing he can do. Ziwei does not hesitate to take out a golden hourglass. It is in the heroic legend of the Orient, from the blonde double ponytail gnome master. The hourglass that can stop time. Ziwei has been getting this hourglass for a while. He tried to study the mystery many times, but he didn't have any gains. It's obvious that the manipulating time is too deep, and it's not the current Ziwei's reach. Although Ziwei had time to delay the spell, when he took out the hourglass of this time, the time lapse around his body returned to normal. Ziwei did not hesitate to directly break this beautiful hourglass like a work of art. The sand of time has been lost, and the golden light shrouded the entire cave at a speed visible to the naked eye, and this black and white world was dyed with a faint golden on. 11 Wei began to cut the spider web around the body with the sharpest blade of the spirit. It took him 5 minutes to get rid of these scary spiders that could limit space spells. Just broke the spider web, Ziwei found that a sharp horror mouthpiece has stopped on his head. Obviously the star spider cannot wait to enjoy the food. At the moment of her eating, it was also her weakest time, because her terror was once again out of the protection of the white jade shell. Ziwei Station was set in front of the star spider, and did not hesitate to display the stick's shock spell. The horror shock that hits the soul is like a torrent that breaks into her brain following the horror of the star spider. Without the metamorphosis of the white jade shell, the star spider can't bear the damage of the sticks. Her soul has evolved into a dazzling starburst, and in the process of condensation, it is not far from being able to evolve into a special soul. However, the star-like soul also trembled and deformed in a wave of waves of the sticks, and eventually fell apart, and the soul became a piece of debris. However, due to the effect of the time stop spell, this horrible legendary spell, it still maintains a whole, but the real star spider is dead. It took less than 3 minutes to kill the star spider with the stick's shock. The time to stop the spell can last for a quarter of an hour. Ziwei can also clean up the sticky spider web on his spiritual body and restore the original mystery. And a strong image. The sand around it was floating in the air, and the faint golden man still stagnated the time of the entire spider cave. At this moment, Ziwei finally realized how powerful the mysterious gnome mage was. A king who is far from the legendary ranks is only the last step. After mastering the powerful time delay and space to lock the set of Nirvana star spiders, he died in the Weha River of Ziwei without any resistance. Shocking spells in the hands. Without the hourglass of this time, Ziwei would have to pay a great price even if he could get out of it. At least this glory hunting will have no suspenseful failure. The mind's dream plane is not too flat, and the mind mage is not a harmony. On the contrary, each of the powerful psychic wizards is a huge treasure for other spiritual wizards by consuming the spirit of each other. Although Davy is the ruler of the White Crow City, the White Crow covers the Sun Shiller's rumored disciple, but if he loses in glory hunting and even pays a great price to survive, there will be countless people. The Lord of the White Tower is full of glory and power. The legendary caster of the ordinary, except for a few warlocks with special blood, most people cannot master the time spell. Even if it is a few legendary magicians, I am afraid that it is impossible to make such an hourglass that can carry the legendary spell of time stop. It is necessary to know that Ziwei has already tested the hourglass of time. It is not a piece magical things, but simply carrying time. This battle made Ziwei realize that he still has a long way to go before he is really strong. Although most of the battles he has experienced are roller-type triumphs, he often relies on foreign objects. However, there was not much time left for Ziwei's emotions. The spells were stopped soon. The faint Jinmang dissipated and the time finally returned to normal. Time-stopping spells don't really stop the time, as opposed to dramatically speeding up the speed of time around Ziwei itself, in a moment to complete a quarter of an hour to complete. At least in the eyes of the only bystander Diffie, his teacher Dai was in a critical state of life at the last moment, but he had already broken free from the white spider web in the next moment, standing cool in front of the star spider. Just when Diffie thought she was looking at her eyes, something more beyond her cognition took place. Originally there was absolute defense, and the huge body of the star spider, which was almost invincible, collapsed to the ground, and the starburst on her head became dim. All the phenomena expressed a result, that is the distance. The king is only the last step of the star spider, and the war is dead. The glory hunting flag that was inserted in the corner suddenly burst into red, and the huge spiritual power behind the star spider formed a silver torrent of soul fragments, which was directly flooded into the glory hunting flag by the long whale. The glory hunting flag automatically floats into the air, the infusion of soul fragments makes it shine, and the mysterious dark red symbol continually flashes on the battle flag. In the end, a huge symbol is locked on the flag of glory hunting, and Ziwei also shows a smile of joy. This symbol means that this glory hunting is perfect, and it is the 8th level of perfection hunting in the 9-level hunting evaluation. It is necessary to know that only the ritual of hunting high-level spiritual beasts can use this glory hunting war flag. Devi has completed 3 hunting of star-shaped beasts, and the highest evaluation is only the 6th class skill hunting. The 9th level evaluation on this incredible great challenge, only in the ritual of the King of Hunting. The next moment, the glory hunting flag floated on the top of Ziwei's head, and the dark red light poured down like a running water, pouring water on Ziwei's body. The glory hunting battle flag is the supreme secret of the soul hunter tribe that has been passed down for thousands of years. It is equivalent to a legendary magical object. The biggest function is to transform the strength of the hunting object into a perfect resource for the hunter. To know that the ordinary mental power engulfs the absorption and transformation, 1/3 of the transformation efficiency is almost perfect, and the mental energy absorbed from others is not so easy to control. Sometimes it will fall into a big but not strong embarrassing situation. However, the glory hunting flag has completely transformed the spiritual power of the hunting object and turned into the resources available to the hunter. This is the meaning of glory hunting. The White Crow City, which holds this glory hunting flag, truly masters the fate of all soul hunters. The Star Spider has only been the last step away from the legendary king. The spiritual power in her body is so large that the number of simple talks is almost 20 times more than that of Ziwei. Despite the purification of the glory hunting flag, when this torrent really poured into the spirit of Ziwei, he began to be a bit overwhelmed. This is really a happy worry. Ziwei quickly transports the compression and transformation skills in the mystery of the soul, and incorporates the grain of the glory of the hunting war into the spirit of his own spirit. Not far from Diffie's envious look at his mentor, this is how a huge stream of spiritual resources. At least 100 times more than the glory hunting that I have done before. Today is the birthday of the governor, but unfortunately the writer is not enough. The starting point is not hanging banners, it is a pity. To be continued. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 571. The body of the spirit of Ziwei is inflated at a speed visible to the naked eye. Although he has been using compression transformation techniques, it is still inevitable to eat. So in the end, Ziwei became a big fat man, and the whole body was round and round from head to toe, and it looked embarrassing. After a long time, the dumping of spiritual food was finally over. Ziwei hasn't had time to relax, and then there is a pale gold comet that slowly falls from the glory hunting flag. This pale gold comet is falling very slowly, but Ziwei is instantly hit by surprise. Is this? When the evaluation of glory hunting is very high, the proportion of spiritual resources for glory hunting and flag conversion is higher. However, if you can achieve the evaluation of level 7 or above, it is very possible to learn the strongest instinct spell of the other party and turn it into your own. Use. If the original Devi can achieve a level of 7 or more in the hunting of the astronomical feather snake, then he is likely to be able to directly disintegrate this very destructive spell without the starburst. The pale gold comet awning finally floated into the spiritual body of Ziwei, and entered the soul of Ziwei's dream star, and instantly dyed his pale body to a pale gold. Time is slow. It is the most horrible source of abilities after the Star Spider, which is transformed into the perfection of the glory hunting flag, and becomes the inscription in the soul, Ziwei's own abilities. No need to cast spells, no casting time, no sound and light, can slow down the horror of more than 5 times the enemy's time. This is a very powerful ability. It is very practical for any magician, warrior, knight, warlock, thief, and other professional players. It can instantly reverse the battle and decide the outcome. For Ziwei, time-delaying abilities has another effect, which is to help him better understand and master the mystery of time. The harvest of this spiritual dream is really too big. Glory hunting finally came to an end, and all the glory of the glory hunting flag was dissipated, and it turned into a primitive and dilapidated original image, which was collected by Ziwei. The Star Spider has completely died, leaving only a set of sparkling white jade shells. This set of white jade carapace is also a very rare treasure, with a horrible protective ability, even the master's level of mystery cannot penetrate. Without much difficulty, you can transform it into an epic magic armor, and it is a very rare protective magic. After collecting the white jade shell again, 11 Wei told Diffei who came over, "Tell Manu that I have completed this glory hunting, and you will return to White Crow City with him." After that, when the white light flashed, Zai Wei launched the transmission spell and returned to the White Tower of the Dream. His current body is so fat, like a ball, it is really the master image has been destroyed. The secrets of most masters in the spiritual inheritance require a great spiritual power to perform. The reason why Zai Wei was stuck in the master is precisely because of his lack of spiritual strength. However, after completing this perfect hunting, as long as Zai Wei can digest these sudden spiritual resources, you can directly complete the master's certificate and promote the spiritual master. When 11 Wei spent about 15 magics at the highest level of the White Tower, he digested all the spiritual resources, and the body of the spirit was compressed to the extreme and sparkling. At this time, he is only a distance away from the master of spiritual magic, and all the goals of this spiritual dream plane are perfectly achieved. 11 Wei thought for a moment and left Jacques with a retreat statement that he would digest and absorb this income and not allow others to disturb. He then launched the Star Shuttle spell and returned to Violet Island. Without stopping for a moment, Zai Wei once again came to the elemental steam engine laboratory under the ocean of the Smurfs plane element through the heart of the plane. What appeared in front of Zai Wei was a huge perfect machine. The surface of the machine was bright with metallic light. It was constantly roaring. The elemental sludge reacted in the high temperature and high pressure of the steam engine, and the decomposed elements were introduced into the surrounding area. 4 elements in the pool. This element steam engine can produce stable and huge power, far exceeding the level of the world's first steam engine, equivalent to a giant who is sleepless and tireless. This is the fire of hope of the magic industrial civilization. Christine's forehead smashed out the fine sweat, her body was still carrying some elemental dirt, and some of the rare wolverines gave a sense of beauty to the extreme. She is communicating with Zero, who has become a black-haired girl, and she did not find the arrival of Zai Wei in the first place. Still turning around and smiling at Zai Wei, Christine realized the existence of Zai Wei. She just wanted to say hello, but found that she was full of oil, and her long hair was scattered. She spent the rest of her life sleeping and forgetting her personal image. Christine's hands behind her back, her head down, don't know what to say. She never appeared in front of any man in such awkward image. 11 Wei did not laugh. The former Christine was beautiful, like a perfect doll, delicate and fragile, without life. On the contrary, the silver-haired beauty in front of us has a stronger sense of reality, and the vitality of life is reunited in her body. But time is tight. Zai Wei goes straight to the key. The element steam engine has been completed. Yes, this is the finished product. The design and testing process has been completed. There is basically no problem. It can be put into large-scale use. I don't know where to find a pair of black-rimmed glasses. She gently pushed the glasses. A bright light is reflected on the lens. 11 Wei began to communicate with Zero and Christine the key to the elemental steam engine, which will be related to his promotion of the Magic Master. The elemental steam engine is undoubtedly an epoch-making creation. Although the magician can use the spells and abilities obtained from the original fire to change the metal and manipulate the machinery, all of this requires the use of magic. All the construction machinery is linked to the magic, and the magic supply is lost. These construction machines will be silent and will no longer function. However, the element steam engine is different. It can be manipulated by ordinary people. It can be driven without any magical power. On the contrary, it can also produce elements, and it has great power. It can hammer metal, which is the basis of industry. Zaiwei's promotion of magic masters is based on the creation of two key components of the steam engine and Silver's spell list. After several improvements, Zaiwei's spell list has been equivalent to a spell server, providing basic teachings, spell experiments, and arcane point mission systems for more than 2,000 teachers and students at Violet College. Health praise. With these two magical construction machines, it is not difficult for Zaiwei to promote the Master of Magic. In this way, the last piece of the puzzle is also completed: elements, protection, space, summoning, change, decoration, mind. In addition to the dead spells of the 7 university spells, Zaiwei are only the last step away from the Master. This means that Zaiwei is about to launch an attack on the Master's card, and Zaiwei is not in a hurry. He still has more than a dozen magic time. After 5 more magics, it was the full moon night, and Ms. Iluna once again shed her brilliance on the earth without reservation. This is the promotion moment of the Zaiwei plan. 11 Wei did not keep the people around him secret. He had a certainty in winning the certificate of the Impact Master, but it was only tonight how much he could gain. Yang, Meryl, and Christine all left the Smurfs with Zaiwei. They will witness the moment when the founder of Violet and Zaiwei were promoted to the Master of Magic. Zaiwei chose the place to be promoted at the top of the tower, the one he once stood on the pool of law, facing the attack of the sea-hungry wolf. Zaiwei bathed and changed clothes, deep meditation, and he and the Zero Soul were once again connected by a double helix, and they were constantly exchanging their understanding of several university-style spell inscriptions, making final preparations for promotion. Natalia, Charlotte, Yang, Meryl, Christine, Ilya, Ms. Black Iris, and Professor Morris also appeared under the tower, and they will become witnesses to the promotion ceremony. This is also a rare opportunity for high-ranking magicians who are not far away from the two masters of Christine and Ilya. As night falls, the sun sets, the silver moon hangs in the sky, the stars are a little bit, and the arches are around the silver moon. Today's moon seems to be a lot brighter, and the distance from the earth is so close. The evening breeze blew on everyone's face and body. Natalia took Meryl in her left hand and Charlotte in her right hand. She didn't have any impatientness. This is the only man who loves admiration. Crucial moment. Finally, late at night, the structure of the top of the tower was opened, and the underground element pool worked again. The ring of the energy array lit up and illuminated the night. Zaiwei appeared at the core of the Juibu Law. At this time, he has transformed into a Japanese elf form, wearing a shining silver mage robe, which is the one that appeared in the Pi Daily. Gorgeous master robe. Ms. Black Shanwei gently waved her silver scepter. Everyone was violently light. They floated up and reached the height of the tower. They looked far away at Zaiwei, which stands at the top of the tower. Zaiwei closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Zero still kept the link with the soul of his double helix. At this moment, he reached the perfect harmony, and the card of the Impact Master officially began. Zaiwei opened his mouth and began to sing the prayers of the Elvish language, praying for the blessing of Ms. Silver Moon Elena. He once received the blessing of the moon, which is the best blessing of Ms. Yenyu. His blood of the Japanese elf is almost entirely from the gift of Ms. Yenyu, so I want to go further in the blood heritage and reach the master level. I need the help of Ms. Yenyu. Soul Spiritual Heart Lake has 4 cores. This is the summary of Zaiwei's induction. It belongs to the current magician and the 4 major areas in which the future archons will grow. This is an epoch-making cognition and innovation that goes beyond the limits of the times. The body, not only the various intensified spells of the Change School, but also the mysterious energy contained in the blood and mitochondria in the blood. The blood of the Japanese elves of Zaiwei comes from Elena. If you want to go further, you must get the blessing of Iluna. When Zaiwei began to sing the Elvish prayer, the Black Rattle High Priest and Maurice Mage closed their eyes devoutly. As the Night Elves, they are now the loyal followers of Ms. Yenyu. Zaiwei's prayers are very long. Elvish is a very elegant language. It sounds like reading and singing. Everyone is indulged in this elegant prayer without any extra movement. When Ziwei sang, the silver moon in the sky was getting brighter and closer, as if he wanted to kiss the whole earth. Ms. Black Shanwei moved, she felt a huge to incredible sacred breath is approaching, it is the true God she believes, the great Lady Silver Moon. In the next moment, all the people with outstanding consciousness sensed this sacred atmosphere. Christine opened the lips with surprise. Can the prayers of Ziwei really attract the will of Ms. Yunyu? The moon is like water, and it is washed down. A silver waterfall falls from the silver moon in the sky and falls on the body of Ziwei. Ziwei quietly bears the silver moon waterfall, not only the body, from the soul, to the spirit, to the heart lake, to the body, everything is bearing the grace of Ms. Yunyu. His soul has been refined into a dream star in the endless river, but it still has a trace of impurities and a sparkling imbalance. However, under the flushing of Yuehua, the last little impurities disappeared, and his soul reached perfect harmony and purity. Moreover, the tremendous pressure and undetectable scars that have been suffered in the endless meditation have been cast and repaired, and everything has become the most perfect form. The spiritual strength of Ziwei became huge and bloated after absorbing the star spider. Although Ziwei has tried to compress and absorb the integration as much as possible, it is still difficult to use it. Despite the transformation of the flag of glory hunting, there are some impurities that can be eradicated, which will affect the upper limit of the future. However, under the flushing of Yuehua, all the impurities disappeared, as if they had never appeared before. Then, Yuehua began to nourish the heart of the lake. Ziwei used the equivalent of the legendary spells in the royal battlefield to explode the whole heart lake. Although the reshaped heart lake is growing rapidly, there are also natural deficiencies. And every remodeling of Xinhu Lake will bring hidden and undetectable burden to the body and soul. Yuehua nourishes the heart lake, just as it was repaired by the Devil King Smart Fork's bursting heart lake. Finally, Yuehua acts on the body of Ziwei. Each of his cells is shuddering. The huge vitality of life that was originally sleeping in the genes and blood begins to awaken. The blood of Ziwei's Japanese elves is transforming toward the masters. The height of Ziwei grew a little longer, his ears were longer, the pupils in his eyes dissipated, and the whole eyelids became a sea of blue light. Power, agility, spirit, everything is growing rapidly. In this continually pouring down the moon, Ziwei has completed the blood transformation and promotion, becoming the master of the Japanese elite blood. The asylum and help given by Ms. Yunyu has exceeded the expectations of Ziwei. It can be said that all the hidden dangers of Ziwei's Impact Master certificate have been eliminated, so that he will have no worries. Ziwei did not hesitate to inscribe the inscriptions of change in the soul. His change came from the fifth law. The fruit of the change given by Lord Victor Hugo, the Lord of Change, although not the most profound core inheritance, however, it is enough for Ziwei to compile a change inscription. The inscriptions of change have only 25 primary inscriptions and 5 intermediate level inscriptions, which are eventually combined into a high-order change inscription, which is enough to accommodate the spells of all the masters of the current change school. When the inscriptions on the 25 primary changes and the 5 inscriptions on the mid-level changes are all engraved in the soul of the dream star of Ziwei, and they are combined into the inscriptions of high-order change, a wonderful change has taken place. This change makes him more adaptable to all the change school spells, both the casting time and the magic consumption are greatly reduced, and the change effect and duration are greatly enhanced. Seeing this scene with my own eyes, Ilya is excited to be self-sufficient. This is the proof of the changing schoolmaster who Ziwei is facing in front of her. It will be very helpful to her in the future. This change is the result of the change of the masters of the school, although not too unique special benefits, but also very comprehensive and powerful. Ziwei successfully reached the magic school of change school. The physical advancement has been completed, and Ziwei has begun an advanced impact on the heart of the lake. Inscriptions on the first four elements, inscriptions on the 48 elements, and inscriptions on 16 high-order elements. This set of inscriptions, which are all-encompassing and that accommodate all the elements of change, are inscribed in the soul of Ziwei. Among them, Ziwei's dream soul treasure has occupied the most important key position. All the inscriptions of the elements are inscribed in detail, and the inscriptions of the 16 high-order elements are combined according to the 4 basic elements of the corresponding geothermal feng shui, forming a perfect structure. In the center of the inscriptions of the 4 basic elements, there is an invisible area that is faintly formed. This is the position of the ultimate element inscription reserved by Ziwei. The inscriptions inscribed in the soul began to feed back to the heart of the lake. The original calm lake of Ziwei began to wave up and expanded rapidly with a rapid speed to the extreme. Like the staking, the 4 elements of the lake are expanding dramatically. Not only that, but the original chaotic heart lake has become more orderly, and each corresponding elemental inscription is acting on the heart lake, gradually confusing the whole. Heart lake is included in the order of the elemental inscriptions. To be continued. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 572. The inscriptions of 144 elementary elements are all presented in the heart of the lake, which has expanded the heart of Ziwei by more than 10 times. The heart lake has become a vast ocean, boundless. The vast magic has surpassed the legendary caster of the ordinary. Ziwei is not too excited, he still has too many key tasks to do. Then, the inscriptions of 144 primary elements began to be aggregated into 48 intermediate element inscriptions, and Xinhu continued to evolve and evolve in the process. Soon, 48 intermediate element inscriptions began to transform into 16 high-level inscriptions, and the integration of the 4 elemental regions in Ziwei Xinhu reached its peak. The 4 elements of the true spirit once again condensed from the heart of the lake, they are far more powerful than before. Whether it is the fiery phoenix, the earth true spirit ox, the pure water true spirit water and the blue wind true spirit, are like a new life. If Ziwei once again elements the body, it will be able to perfectly display the 4 elements of the true spirit, playing far more powerful than the battle of the Marquis of Gloucester in the Royal Theatre. In the end, Ziwei's heart lake was finally formed in a huge change. His heart lake was perfectly controlled by the 4 elements of the elemental inscriptions, and directly became the elementary school magic master. The feedback from the master's card also began to appear. From now on, Ziwei will use all the spells under the elementary school legend to cast spells without casting time, which is equivalent to spells and spells. In addition, all elemental spells have an extremely effective cast effect, and the range of spells has been expanded by a factor of 9. This means that just in the master stage, the elemental spells of Ziwei are beyond the scope of 9 square kilometers. If Ziwei is promoted to the legendary caster in the future, a legendary element spell can be used for a range of 900 square kilometers. This is the feedback of the elementary school masters. Because Ziwei has the most accumulation in the elemental school, the exploration of the mystery of the element is closest to the source, and his reward in the elemental field is also the most terrifying. At the same time as the promotion of Ziwei, there will be external manifestations. When he was promoted to the elementary school magic master, the surrounding elements were almost full of extremes. This moment is simply the embodiment of the king of elements in the human world. All the elements are obeying his orders. Whether it was Yang, Meryl, or Christine and Ilya, at this moment they found that they had completely lost control of the surrounding elements, which is a magical master cannot do. Only visible to the naked eye, Ziwei has completed the achievements of blood promotion, change school magic masters and element school magic masters. How respectable and terrible. The evolution of the heart lake was completed, and Ziwei began the evolution of the spiritual realm. All the glory hunting rituals, plundered from the star spiders, became more active after the baptism of Silver Moon, more easily absorbed, and without impurities, become very pure. Originally, Zai Wei was only a line away from the master of mind magic. He had dragged the master of spiritual masters that had already been completed to this moment, so this step was very smooth. Zai Wei just jumped and crossed the master of mind magic. The threshold. Spiritual master of magic, reach. Zai Wei's mental strength is 20 times more than 3 days ago. This is a terrible change. His mental strength has reached the level of the 8th order spiritual master. The feedback from the master's card came at the same time, and the spiritual recovery speed of Zai Wei was greatly accelerated, and all the spells of the soul gained super strong spell penetration, and most of the protection spells could be ignored. It is not the lack of mental power to limit the power of the mind's spells, but various magical and powerful protective spells. Whether it is the Church of the Glorious Lord or the Tower of the Thousand Laws, there are protective means for the mind spells, and it is the natural nemesis of the mind mage. However, with the super reward of the Master's certificate, the magical effect of the magical church or the protective school will be greatly reduced, which means that the shackles on the neck of the mind mage are opened. I didn't read it wrong. Just now Zai Wei completed the promotion in the field of spiritual power. Is he now a master of magic in the spiritual school? Ilya finally couldn't help but ask. The impact that Zai Wei brought to him today is too much. Violent, to know that she is the famous daughter of Victor Hugo, the famous master of change, has not yet been promoted to change magic masters. The West Victoria in front of him is less than 20 years old, and the promotion master is as easy as eating and drinking. What is even more horrifying is that he has witnessed the masters of several different magical schools at the same time. Even if he does not consider the promotion of the original Japanese elves, this short period of time has already impacted and successfully reached the 3 schools of change, elements, and mind. This is something that has never been done before in the history of Orient. No one responded to her, and everyone else was concentrating on observing the next move by Zai Wei. Obviously, Zai Wei did not want to stop. He will continue to impact, to achieve the holographic magic master he once mentioned. At this point, the 3 major areas of the body of the heart of the lake have completed the evolution. Only the last and most crucial step, that is, the soul. Space, change, and elemental school spell inscriptions have all been engraved in the soul, followed by protection, summoning, and construction of the 3 colleges. The protective school is the first legendary magician in the history of mankind, the great first law, the magic school founded by the master of the magical Holy Land, Tarafat, and the millennial time has spread the protection school's magic. It has become the type of spell that almost all magicians have to learn, just like the elemental school. Therefore, although Zai Wei did not go to the Thousand Family Tower for further study, and did not get the protection inheritance of Tulafid, but only the analysis of the protective spells that have spread, Zai Wei can construct a standard set. Inscription on the mainstream protection school. 27 initial protection inscriptions, 9 intermediate protection inscriptions, and 3 high-level protection inscriptions. It is quite satisfactory. Zai Wei knows that the 2 schools of protection and summoning are their own weak schools, but the time is too tight, and he has no chance to gain the highest level of inheritance. In fact, 11 Wei's in-depth exploration of the mystery of the ether in the field of elementalism is inseparable from the legendary magical things left by Descartes. The space of the etheric sphere is inseparable from the pets of Grodic, now the legendary strong octopus of the King of the Dead Sea. Paul's change and inheritance also received the fruits of change given by the Lord of Change. The spiritual inheritance replaced the White Ravens and Schiller baby disciple David, completing a perfect and superb glory hunting. These schools have sufficient opportunities to achieve current achievements. Conversely, the construction of the protection school inscriptions relies on the most solid and traditional analysis and understanding. But this solidity is enough to help Zai Wei promote the magic school of the protection school. At the moment when the 3 high-level protection inscriptions are formed, the West Weibo is not surprised to complete the promotion, the Protection School Magic Master, reach. The feedback from the Master's card is also quite satisfactory, and the consumption of the protective spell is reduced by half, including all casting materials, casting time, and magic. Once a day, the effect of the protection spells under the legend is increased, and the highest level is reached to the peak of the 8 rings. This means that if you use a 7-ring protection spell, you can get the effect of an 8-ring protection spell. Protection School Magic Master, Christine looked forward to watching Ziwei, to refuel, only the final summons and construction of the entire Magic Master. Christine knows that Ziwei has gained space and has completed the construction of a space survey in the soul. The Necromancer spell is a negative energy spell, and it is incompatible with the mainstream spell school. Therefore, the magical feat of Ziwei's impact on all the Magic Masters has been successfully completed. The next step is to summon the school. If you have to say something about it, then the Legend of the Orient Heroes card should be considered an adventure. By analyzing and making this magical summoning card, Ziwei learned a mysterious and powerful summoning magician's idea of summoning spells. Coupled with the analysis of traditional summoning spells, Ziwei finally got 36 initial call inscriptions, 6 intermediate call inscriptions and a high-order summoning inscription. Combine 36 initial call inscriptions into 6 mid-level summoning inscriptions, and finally evolve into a complete high-order summoning inscription. At the moment when this high-order summoning inscription is formed, the Elemental School Magic Master is reached. The feedback from the Master's card came later, and this feedback gave Ziwei a surprise. Call of the Stars, you and the mysterious star world have a close connection, your summoning spell objects will come from the astral. Ziwei suddenly associates with his first call to the magic pet, which is directly linked to the astral world. The cat form of Ziwei is from the depths of the stars. The magic pet summoning ritual is the most basic spell of the summoning school, but the human summoning school spell is not unique. The demon of the abyss and all kinds of aliens including the orcs have the summoning spell inheritance. The summoning school masters have also been reached, Yang said inexplicably. The surprise that Ziwei's mentor gave him tonight was too big. He first discovered that the original magician could still play like this. 11 Wei's move undoubtedly inspired him. After this night, Yang began to challenge the achievements of many magic masters. Next is the inheritance of the sect school. This inheritance is essentially different from other spell schools because it comes from the mysterious original fire. Although it also needs spell models and magic, it is more necessary to promote the magical masters. Create. Ziwei put the structural design of the elemental steam engine and the Ziwei's spell list with the spirit of precision to the ultimate outline, and then put these 2 mental modules into a light blue fire. This light cyan fire comes from Christine, a high-level imitation of the original fire that she plans to use for her own impact. After the 2 mental modules entered the light cyan fire, the energy level of the entire fire climbed sharply. Almost a moment, a light blue flame emerged from above the fire. Obviously, the 2 fresh construction machines directly reached the construction school. The requirements of the Master of Magic. Constructed School Magic Master, reach. Christine saw that Ziwei had reached the magical master of the school with this light blue fire that was originally his own, but her eyes were slowly smiling. This is the one whose fate points to himself. He may really be able to change the 40 curse that bears his blood. The flame of the light cyan fire became more and more bright, and Ziwei slowly collected the fire. The feedback from the master magician also needs to be explored slowly. After all, this is a primitive fire heritage from another universe, which is not so clear and intuitive. Is it only the last school? Natalia asked Meryl with excitement. This is the man she chose. How amazing and great, the unprecedented master of magic is about to be reached. Yes, my sister, only the last space has been passed down. Ziwei brother is about to become the first master of magic in the history of Orient, Meryl answered the question of Natalia. But her eyes have not left the figure under the silver moon on the tower. Ziwei brother, you are so good, just like the sun shining, completely occupying my heart. In addition to magic and you, my heart can no longer accommodate anything. At this point, only the last space was passed down. The first Western Law and Void Traveler Grodic's inheritance obtained by Ziwei, all the inscriptions were inspired by the inscription of the Void. 11 Wei also made bold adjustments and improvements to the empty inscriptions in the soul. These adjustments came from zero and came from the exploration and understanding of space in the world. The inheritance of space is precisely the most important inheritance of Ziwei. To know that the empty traveler Grodic has crossed the crystal wall between the universe and went to another universe beyond the multi-level plane of Orient. And 11 Wei's own soul is also from the universe outside of Orient. If you completely master the void inheritance, you may have the opportunity to return to the world you once lived in the future. Of course, Ziwei is not the kind of person who must return to the once world at all costs. In the world of Orient, he has a lover, has a friend, has his own college, and has too much concern. More importantly, in the world of the Orient, he is gradually moving toward the clouds, and Wei Li belongs to himself. Immortality is not the limit. In this case, the Orient world is his root, and he must not give up his home. At this time, Ziwei was not only tired, but very excited. Slowly calming down the undulating heart, he began the last impact. Break up the empty inscriptions that have been engraved in the soul, and once again construct a void inscription that has been finely adjusted and improved. Although it may not be as perfect as the second law, but it is your own. This is a road that Ziwei must take to learn the knowledge of predecessors, but it cannot rely entirely on the predecessors. If you want to be on the top and achieve the legend that no one can do, you must create your own ideas, knowledge, and creations. 12 first-order void inscriptions and 12 mid-level void inscriptions were built in the soul of Ziwei, forming a spell model of 7 ring spells. This spell is no longer a space survey but is Ziwei is named Void Star Map. 3-dimensional measurement of all the space, eventually forming a complete plane, the world, the universe map. At the moment of the Void Star Map spell molding, the Space School Magic Master reached. Feedback from the Master's card has also arrived, and all the space spells that Ziwei will display will be able to be accurately positioned, and the space spell casting distance will be greatly extended, and the awareness of space will be greatly deepened. In the feedback of the Masters of all schools, it can be said that the feedback of the Space School is second only to the Elemental School. If Ziwei holds the space of the second law Grodic, he will not make any changes, then his harvest will be greatly discounted. Undoubtedly, this adventure was once again successful. Ziwei finally completed the whole process. The impact of the masters of all the school's spells was successfully achieved, and the elements, protection, space, summoning, change, decoration, and soul 7 were achieved. The magic master of the school, Ziwei's dream star, the soul of the diamond, also began to shine with dazzling light. The faint brilliance passed through the body of Ziwei, and he was covered with a layer of Shenhua. His whole person is more embarrassed and more mysterious, perfect to the extent that it is not like a mortal. The soul level of Ziwei once again jumped over a very large gap and came to an ultra-high track. The heights are not overwhelming, and 11 Wei suddenly feels a limit. His dream star, the soul of the diamond, has risen several times and has reached the limit of mortals, and can no longer move on. This is the ultimate barrier between the mortal and the gods mentioned by Sophie, the Lord of Music, the key to the separation between the gods and the gods. If you can go further, you can take a crucial step, the sanctuary, the demigod, and even the true god. However, Ziwei quickly got out of this refreshing sense of ecstasy. He just achieved the Master of Magic, and there is still a long way to go from the legendary magician. There is a far cry. Look up at the stars and keep your feet on the ground. Ziwei is not in a hurry. Today his success represents a key time node, that is, the time of the opening of the arcane era is here. Soul Spiritual Heart Lake has 4 major areas, belonging to the inner growth of the arcanist. Each spell inscription from each school is equivalent to a combination of spell models, which means that Violet Academy will be able to carry out elements of elemental, protective, summoning, space, and change. It also means that the term Arcane Master can finally be taken from paper. It became a reality. Zai Wei is already the first Arcane Master in the history of Orient. The second child is the author of the masterpiece, and I recommend you to read the book. The Witch, The Farm, the super interesting, the score is much better than me. Today is my birthday, 3 or 4,000 words, equivalent to the past 7, and it is also a big one. Asking for a wave of votes is not excessive, right? To be continued. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 573. When Zai Wei completed all the processes and really stepped out to become a master of magic, the moon in the sky finally faded down and everything was calm. For Ms Yin Yu, 11 Wei has had some speculation. The time is right to go to the elves of Yangzhou Island to visit the earliest and only local true in the Orient world. Everyone came forward to congratulate, with a heartfelt joy. Zai Wei also responded with a smile. The night was deep, and after a congratulatory thank you, everyone quickly dispersed. Zai Wei has gained too much from all the magic masters in this attack. Even in the face of the legendary strongman, now he has the power of a battle. This kind of strength is enough to shelter the Violet Academy, many of the original unscrupulous actions. Finally, I can speed up. It's so fast. When you first met you at sea, you were just a little magician, but now you have become a master of magic, Natalia said to Zai Wei. She also advanced to the first level in the year, and is not far from the masters. Natalia is only 18 years old. This is already a very proud achievement. However, compared with Zai Wei, there is still a huge gap. If you look at the career of the Blood Knight in the 4 fields of the soul, spirit, heart lake, and body of Zai Wei, the congenital defects are quite obvious. In addition to the physical field and the corresponding magical skills and exercises, the system is relatively weak in terms of soul and spirit. Natalia is a standard talent, and Zai Wei wants to help her become more perfect. For the growth and promotion of the Blood Knight, Zai Wei has already had a sly idea. There are many things to be done. If it is not with zero help, Zai Wei is not likely to achieve the perfect and important work of the territorial, academic, diplomatic, and magical studies. If the most important thing before the end of the upcoming original contract is, it is undoubtedly the promotion of the 2 concepts of arcane and arcane. Violet Island is located in the remote western Golden Sea. In addition to the reputation of Zai Wei to Pai Li, the Violet Academy has a little reputation. Now it is mainly a beginner's college. More than half of the students in the entire college are magic apprentices, and the rest are basically junior magicians. Although the number of students in such a beginner's college is very large, it cannot be seen by the magicians of the entire Orient continent. The magicians are in contact with the elements, control the magic, can use the spell model to construct the spell, and the heavens can be omnipotent. The magic in the Orient plane is the most advanced and effective, the most sustainable productivity. With the ability of Zai Wei and Zero, this step is now the limit. The spell inscriptions of the main spell schools have been compiled, and a standard magician growth system has been established. However, I really want to promote the arcane, let the arcane master replace the magician to become the mainstream of the whole Orient world, let the arcane age really come, and the prestige of Zai Wei is still not enough. If Zai Wei can persist in the continuous growth and development of the Violet Island for decades, and promote its own strength to the legendary caster, and even the elementary school legendary magician, the Violet Academy also cultivates a large number of primary, middle, and high-level magic masters and masters of magic. That Zai Wei is qualified and prestige to promote arcane, others will be convinced. However, the original contract has ended, and the glory of the glorious Lord will soon dissipate from the multidimensional plane where the Orient world is located. A dark and chaotic era is coming. One of the ambitions who are interested in the ecstasy of God will soon be on the stage of the storm, the shackles tied to them have already opened, and the peace that Orient has continued for hundreds of years is coming to an end. If the upper limit of the power of the original continent is legendary, then in the era of the gods, the sanctuary, the demigod, the true God, and the most powerful people who are almost legendary will appear. Under the overwhelming power of horror, the arcane civilization will not have the opportunity to carry forward. It is necessary to know that the arcane master system in Zaiwei's mind will be the most suitable power system for the Orient world. The arcane masters will study the sky, study the earth, study the elements, study the stars, and study all the heavens and the earth in the whole world. The life of the arcanist is the life of pursuing the truth, and even the gods and demons are just more powerful research objects. However, the gods need faith. Mystery is the protection color of every god, which will allow mortals to study themselves, even the black history of their own mortals. Therefore, once the chaos of the era of the gods is over, the new order is re-established, and the gods begin to truly rule the world, there will never be any living space for the arcans and arcane civilization. The entire Orient world will also end this continually evolving pattern of development, and instead redegenerate into the medieval lord and aristocracy, because in this case, it is the era in which faith is the easiest to spread and the gods can dominate everything. Now the world of Orient is able to get rid of this nightmare, because there are only two true gods in the world of Orient. Among them, the Lady of Silver Moon is not contending, the Lord of Glory is only a guest, which gives the rapid development of magic, arcane the space for germination and growth. Therefore, Zaiwei has no time to wait. He must rob the arcanes to the true corners of the arcane empire and lead the Orient. The new order, otherwise this Kongzhuang Avenue will be severed by the siege of the new gods. At that time, he could not resist even with 3 heads and 6 arms. If you want to promote the concept of arcane, you must boldly break the tradition and slowly disclose the hidden knowledge that everyone else thinks is impossible to open to the magicians who want to learn to be motivated. In the process, pass on the idea of arcane to them and train them into an arcane master. Therefore, the focus of Zaiwei's work will be transferred to the first arcane journal published in the Orient world. Since it is the inaugural issue, it must have revolutionary innovations, firmly attracting the eyes of all magicians, and it is a hit. Moreover, it is impossible for Zaiwei to contract all the articles of a whole arcane journal by himself, which will undoubtedly make people laugh at the big teeth, and it is better to go out of the book directly. In this case, it is necessary to make a draft, and it must not lower the number of the original issue of the arcane journal, so that the choice of face is very small. In the relationship of Zaiwei, there are only 2 of the most powerful magicians that can be reached, that is, the 5th law master of change Victor Hugo and the 7th law construction Queen Didura. Of course, these 2 legendary magicians, the same as the existence of the sanctuary strong, will never easily make their research results public. Zaiwei thinks that as long as one can invite one of the 2 to do the arcane inaugural issue, the order is fine. At present, there are already 7 legendary magicians. The first Fata is deeply inhabited, and he is interested in sealing the gods and becoming the of magical priesthood. It can be said to be the biggest competitor and enemy on the road of Zaiwei. The second Fagrodic has already traveled to another universe, leaving his legend and space heritage only in the Orient plane. Although the third method is mysterious to the extreme, Zaiwei has already hanged the legendary magician and a person on the equal sign. That is the founder of the Necronomic school, the first master of magic in mankind, and the status of the bones dominates the undead King Bades. 11 Wei is now unrelated to him, and it is even more impossible to risk the sin of the Church of the Glorious Lord or the Lord of the Morning to contact the undead king. The 4th law should be the founder of the summoning school, but unfortunately Ziwei can't find any news of the fourth law from any open book. The same is true of the sixth law. The supreme person of the spiritual school, White Ravens, Schiller is also not qualified to become a legendary magician, so this mysterious sixth law is still in the fog. In this way, the fifth Favik Hugo and the seventh Fadaya are already the supreme authority of the entire Orient world after Turafat, the idol and struggle goal of countless magicians. As long as the Arcane Journal can make any one of these two people order, then you can definitely lead the trend. To do this, Ziwei must come up with dry goods, but the most important thing he lacks now is dry goods. Whether it is elemental inscriptions, protective inscriptions, summoning inscriptions, or changing inscriptions, as long as you learn along the first, middle, and high levels, you will be able to reach the high-level magician all the way, and the master of magic will only be the last master. Everything that Ziwei has done undoubtedly paved the way for all the magicians. Among the magicians of the whole world of Orient, except for a few lucky ones or geniuses who can study in the 1005 Towers, the Royal Academy of Magicians in France. Most of them are in a standard hunger-thirsty state, eager to learn any magic-related knowledge they can reach. Not to mention the difference between arcane and magic, the arcane will completely get rid of the mystery category, induct the law, theorem, study everything. As long as you become an arcane master, you can start your own research, get rid of the simple learner's and user's identity, start to really think, change. Of course, most of the magicians are actually just learners and users. They are interested in mastering powerful spells, never thinking about why the spell will work, and will not try to improve or create new spells. Especially in some small places or ancient magician circles, almost any spell is regarded as a mystery of inheritance. It is as secret as a life root, and it will not be open at all, even if it costs a lot of money. However, for the arcanist, the spell itself only carries the idea of the arcane master himself. It is a research tool, a convenient life, a research result, and an external manifestation of the arcane theory, but not everything. The night was deep, Natalia had already fallen asleep, and Ziwei sat in front of the window against the silver moon, but the more she wanted to be more excited, he lifted the pen and began to write the first chapter of the opening chapter of the Arcane. In the first chapter of this opening, I have to write it down, it's too late, so I'm sorry, I'll change it later, I'm sorry for the inconvenience. Although the third method is mysterious to the extreme, Ziwei has already hanged the legendary magician and a person on the equal sign. That is the founder of the Necronomic School, the first master of magic in mankind, and the status of the bones dominates the undead King Bades. 11 Wei is now unrelated to him, and it is even more impossible to risk the sin of the Church of the Glorious Lord or the Lord of the Morning to contact the undead king. The fourth law should be the founder of the summoning school, but unfortunately Ziwei can't find any news of the fourth law from any open book. The same is true of the sixth law. The supreme person of the spiritual school, White Ravens, Schiller is also not qualified to become a legendary magician, so this mysterious sixth law is still in the fog. In this way, the fifth Favik Hugo and the seventh Fadaya are already the supreme authority of the entire Orient world after the first Fatefat, the idols and struggles of countless magicians. Aims. As long as the Arcane Journal can make any one of these two people order, then you can definitely lead the trend. Want to do this? Ziwei must come up with dry goods, but the most important thing he lacks now is dry goods. Whether it is elemental inscriptions, protective inscriptions, summoning inscriptions, or changing inscriptions, as long as you learn along the first, middle, and high levels, you will be able to reach the high-level magician all the way, and the master of magic will only be the last master. Everything that Ziwei has done undoubtedly paved the way for all the magicians. Among the magicians of the whole world of Orient, except for a few lucky ones or geniuses who can study in the 1005 Towers, the Royal Academy of Magicians in France. Most of them are in a standard hunger-thirsty state, eager to learn any magic-related knowledge they can reach. Not to mention the difference between arcane and magic, the arcane will completely get rid of the mystery category, induct the law, theorem, study everything. As long as you become an arcane master, you can start your own research, get rid of the simple learner's and user's identity, start to really think, change. Of course, most of the magicians are actually just learners and users. They are interested in mastering powerful spells, never thinking about why the spell will work, and will not try to improve or create new spells. Especially in some small places or ancient magician circles, almost any spell is regarded as a mystery of inheritance. It is as secret as a life root, and it will not be open at all, even if it costs a lot of money. However, for the arcanist, the spell itself only carries the idea of the arcane master himself. It is a research tool, a convenient life, a research result, and an external manifestation of the arcane theory, but not everything. The night was deep, Natalia had already fallen asleep, and Ziwei sat in front of the window against the silver moon, but the more she wanted to be more excited, he lifted the pen and began to write the first chapter of the opening chapter of the Arcane. To be continued. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 574. After writing the prologue, 11 Wei breathed a sigh of relief and came to the world of Orient for more than a year. Although he could not say that he had been on a thin ice, it can be said to be a stressful mountain. The specific dry goods chapter does not need to be eager to write. The Arcane Journal will publish more arcane theory and truth exploration, but rarely directly related to specific spells and spell models. The dream of 11 Wei's opening of the Arcane Age is easily seen as a slang, which has been entangled in him. Until the moment he truly achieved the Master of Magic, the shackles on his body were finally released. From the Magic Master to the legendary magician, it seems that there are only two short levels, but it is a natural divide. It must rely on long accumulation and step by step to have a glimmer of hope. Ziwei can finally put its own strength. The improvement is slightly slowed down, focusing on other areas that are relatively neglected. Since the establishment of the Violet Academy, he has not taught the students for a long time, especially the newly enrolled students, who have not had the chance to meet the principal. The development of the Violet Academy is already very fast, but it is not fast enough, at least not yet able to carry the role of the Arcane Development Center. Therefore, the focus of Ziwei's work will be shifted to the rapid improvement of the Arcane Academy's arcane research, magic education, and college construction. This will be his core reserve force and a place to cultivate his own ideas and supporters. In addition, with the completion of the Holy City within a day, this miraculous great city appeared in the desolate Gobi Desert in the air, and all the tribes of the entire Smurf community finally established Blue. The belief of the big god, the million Smurfs became the solid believers of the Blue God. The Smurfs are even more suitable for learning magic than humans, and at least the proportion of their communities that can complete meditation and build a heart lake is far beyond humans. Therefore, in the long run, the Smurfs also urgently need to open the branch school of the Violet Academy, and cultivate the excellent part of these Smurfs into qualified magicians and even archons. Now the whole Violet is lacking qualified and reliable tutors. The official professors of Violet Academy are only Morris, Zero, Kristen and the newly appointed Elia 4, which has more than 2,000 students. The magic school is not enough. The Smurf plane is a secret that cannot be made public in a short time. In this case, Ziwei can only find another way to upgrade the function list function of Ziwei. The use of magical copying of recording technology is not difficult, and it is difficult to find qualified recording materials. After hundreds of experiments, Zero finally found a magnetic material that can be used to make recording files, and finally produced a qualified sound storage medium. Adding this medium to Ziwei's spell list, this magical construction machine that the teachers and students are almost inseparable has finally added a new feature to Ziwei's magic class. In order to use the time more efficiently, Ziwei came to the Smurf plane. At this moment, more than 20,000 Smurfs have entered the divine capital and jumped from the original tribal members to the modern urban residents. Kristen is hosting the construction of the first elemental steam engine plant, followed by the second steel mill. The Blue Big God Church also swells as the faith deepens into the hearts of the people. Now the church has 200 official priests and 3,000 temple priests, nearly half of which are concentrated in the Snow Mountain Temple, the Holy Capital and the Elements. Holy Land. The Chief Archbishop Solomon has been busy with almost no sleep. He now holds theocracy and political power. It can be said that under the Blue Big God, the entire Smurf has the highest status. Despite this, Solomon did not stop the practice of magic. After all, this is the power of the Blue God. However, limited by talent, although Solomon also began to study elemental OI-72, often asked Yang and Meryl, two messengers, to ask, but his progress is not fast, even after his son Amon. This made Solomon still very stressed, especially after the original tribes of the tribes turned into priests of the temple, and several of them were practicing at a speed of 1,000 miles, and they were about to start promoting to the senior magician. This kind of pressure has made Solomon more focused on what he has to do in the gods of the Blue Big God. In just over 10 days, he has thoroughly adopted the management handbook and is working hard. The influx of tens of thousands of Smurfs did not make the entire sacred capital too disorderly, which is the credit of Solomon. 11 Wei did not have the first time to find Solomon. He began the construction of the transmission of the array. Before being promoted to the Space Magic Master, he had been transported by a single person for a long time. After 5 long-distance transmissions, he could return to Violet directly from Pi. But trying to build a long-distance transmission array on the mainland of the Orient, but it is not enough. Until the moment when he was promoted to the Master of Magic, Zai Wei obtained the feedback that the space spell casting distance was greatly extended from the Master's certificate, and it was finally possible to establish a stable long-distance transmission array. Zai Wei plans to construct a two-way transmission array in the core areas of the 3 Smurfs, the Snow Mountain Temple, the Holy City and the Elemental Holy Land. This is not only for the more effective integration of the Smurf plane, but more importantly for the future, it is possible to lay the foundation for the long-distance transmission method in the Orient continent. At present, there is no long-running transmission array for a large number of people or goods on the mainland. On the one hand, as the distance increases, the level of magic index required for transmission increases, and on the other hand, long-distance transmission will inevitably bring various unstable and unsafe factors. Therefore, after hundreds of years of practice, the most advanced transmission array currently in use can only be used in 2 cities separated by 150 kilometers. This transmission array is also the most proud disciple of the second law void traveler Grodic, a legendary caster. In fact, most of the transmission array is similar to the 6 towers of the tower to the underground chamber short-distance transmission. At present, the transportation mode of the entire Orient Plain is still very primitive. The civilian population is still dominated by various carriages, ox carts and walking. Even the most precious Pegasus Knights, Griffin Knights, or magicians who can use flying, travel far less than the large passenger planes of the Earth era. In terms of transportation efficiency, it is impossible to compare with trains and trains. Only space transmission, but far more efficient than the previous Earth plane, thanks to the unique space structure of the Orient world, the middle magician can access the simplest space spells. The architecture of the long-distance transmission magic array began to be designed very early. It was originally built to establish a transmission array between Violet and the chaotic city of Palermo. It is more convenient to gradually incorporate Palermo and even Sicily into Violet. In the order. However, the magical consumption of long-distance transmission of terror and the unsafe security are the problems that have plagued all the space magicians of Orient for hundreds of years. However, in the Smurf plane, everything has become different. As a growing new primary plane, the magical power consumption of the Smurf space is much lower than that of the Orient continent. In particular, the elements and magic of this plane have been combed by Zai twice, even he the etheric essence of the etheric body comes from this plane. Therefore, Zai can be called the son of the plane in the Smooth plane, and even the most basic elements and magic have his inextricable connection. The straight line between the Holy Land, the Holy City and the Snow Mountain Temple is not far away, and the distance between the farthest elemental Holy Land and the Snow Mountain Temple is only 450 kilometers. The Xiaoxian plan is a long-distance fixed portal between the elemental Holy Land and the sacred capital. The distance between the two cities is 180 kilometers. It is not difficult for Zai, where the space spell casting distance is greatly extended. For the security of long-distance transmission, which has plagued the problems of the Orient space mage for hundreds of years, Zai has a different solution. That is the core technology of the world that allows large star warships to jump in space. Although this space jump has very demanding requirements for energy and power, the technology is already very mature and the safety is not lacking. Zero is the intelligent core that controls the entire Explorer. It is no stranger to the space jump. The main direction of the revision of the Void's Void inscription by Zai is aimed at this point. When the sacred capital was first built, Zai had already reserved the area for transmitting the array. When Zai temporarily stealed the sovereignty of creation, it built a stable area suitable for space transmission. In the sacred capital, in the elemental Holy Land, Zero and West Dimension at the same time began the construction of the transmission of the array. This part of the work has long been a familiar road. In less than half a day, the transmission arrays of the two places were all completed, and only the last and most difficult step to activate the transmission array. This requires the two magicians to simultaneously activate the transmission array and provide energy with their own magic at both ends of the transmission array, and then stably connect the spatial channels together. Because only the magic consumed by this transmission can be minimized. If you simply extend the spatial channel from one transmission array to the other, the magic required will climb to 4 times. Once the transmission array is activated and the space channel is set up steadily, the subsequent daily maintenance consumption will be greatly reduced, and the magic standard required for transmission will be much lower. However, this difficulty is not worth mentioning with Zai and Zero. He and she have the deepest soul shackles, and at the moment when Zai is promoted to the Master of Magic, he is always connected with the soul that he has always been connected with. Achieved the certificate of the Master. Zai stood on the transmission matrix of the elemental Holy Land, and stood on the transmission matrix of the Holy Capital. Both of them simultaneously activated their own magic. The empty star map represents the high-order void of the highest space magic. The inscription was fully launched, and a very standard elemental space between the Holy Land and the Holy Capital appeared in the void. At the same time, the two planes began to extend toward the other side. According to the Void Star Map, a new spell that combines the Orient Plane and the world's two space technologies, the space channel constructed is more stable and stable. The magic began to vent at a very fast speed. However, for the elemental magic master, the magical power of the lake has already been the vastness of the West and the Zero, the magic consumption speed cannot catch up with the magic speed. The two space channels are paved all the way, as if the lovers who have been separated for a long time are running happily together. 10 kilometers, 30 kilometers, 60 kilometers. When the space channel extended for 60 kilometers, the magic consumption index increased, and the vast lake of Zai finally dried up at a speed visible to the naked eye. However, at this time, the distance between the two spatial channels is only the last distance. Zai and Zero invariably accelerated the speed of the space channel, and the two invisible dragons finally collided together. The space channels constructed from the high-level void inscriptions of the Void Star Map were firmly connected together, connecting the elements of the Holy Land. The long-distance transmission between the Sacred Capital and the Sacred Capital has finally been completed. The blue light shines on the transmission of the elemental Holy Land and the Holy Capital, forming two blue deep spaces. The minimum magic required to pass the door of this space requires only about 100 standard magic, and a 2-ring magician can pass. The magic required to deliver the item is only 1/10 of that passed by people. Of course, it cannot be used for bulk transportation. However, some precious items that need to arrive quickly can be safely and quickly arrived through the portal. At this point the magic of Zyway and Zero still has more than 80%, which means that Zyway and Zero can completely wait for the magic to recover and then set up the remaining space. After successfully completing the structure of the space transmission array, Zyway once again released the blue of the gods to summon the chief Archbishop Solomon. See God's Lord, Solomon bowed a sly respect to Zyway, wearing a luxurious blue-breasted robes embroidered with gold thread. He now has a better understanding of the blue big god. In addition to the direct reduction of the gods on major issues, the blue big gods will send some gods to things that are relatively less important. God made it into 2 types, wearing gold-lined blue robes and silver-lined blue robes. The of the golden-lined blue robe is so lofty that even Solomon, who is the chief archbishop, must be treated with solemnity. In a sense, he is the master of the blue will, and he is closer to the supreme blue God. So far Solomon has only seen a of gold-lined blue robe. In fact, this is also the identity of 11-way in the Smooth plane. To be continued. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 575. The Archbishop of Solomon, the Lord is very satisfied with your recent work. This is the fruit of God's gift to you. Zyway handed a round fruit that shone with 4 colors to Solomon. The elemental fruit is the latest creation of the elemental school magician that can improve the elemental affinity and comes with a set of elemental inscription templates and spell models, which can be said to be the current blood research laboratory. The change of the school and the elementary school are the latest creations of Dachan. Elemental fruit can greatly reduce the time required for the magician to train. It is a savvy for an erudite orthopedic artist who studies various principles and improves the creation of spells. But for most magicians who are equivalent to skilled workers, it is a very powerful treasure. It is impossible for a society to be an Archean similar to a scientist. Even in the Arcane Empire, there will be a large number of ordinary magicians, civilians who enjoy the fruits of magical industrial civilization, and arcanes that protect the safety of the Arcane Empire. Core. The growth time of any kind of professional is relatively very long. From apprentice to formal professional, to middle class, to paradigm, this road takes several years and decades, but now time is for West. Dimension is the most precious thing. Now, the Violet Academy, in addition to the newly promoted magic masters of Zyway, there are only a few high-level professionals who are still at the threshold of the master. Even if you count the Night Elf village, there are only 2 masters. In the Age of Peace, such power is already very strong. For example, the ruler of Corsica, the Bonaparte family, only the Earl of Bonaparte, Carlo Pompa, is the master of the blood, the most in Sicily. The strong professional is the vampire Count Sorrows of the master class. However, once the original contract is over, the age of the gods is coming, and it is hidden in the darkness. The ambitions of the powerful people in the multifaceted plane will all be on the stage of the Orient, because only the multi-bit of the Orient world, the main material plane in the face, can provide the huge energy needed to ignite the gods of fire. Even in the giant planes of the endless abyss and the beasts of the beasts, the upper limit of power that can be supported is only a half god. Only when you reach the legendary level can you have certain status and choice in the coming era of the gods, otherwise it will be crushed and swallowed up. The Arcane Empire and Arcane Age in the Zyway plan are even more jokes. At the same time, the strength of the followers of Zyway must be greatly strengthened. There must be a ladder, and not all of them are beginners. Under the strong pressure that is coming, it is far from enough to completely follow the old professional training system. Zai has to adopt various means to accelerate the growth of students. Whether it is the newly added Magic Classroom module in the Western-wide spell list, or the fruit of the elements developed in the same way, it belongs to the product of this guiding ideology. Moreover, from the experience of Zai itself, he spent almost a year, from almost zero, to a master of magic, and even began to pursue the mystery of legendary magicians in the field of elementalism. Even if he excludes himself, the two proud students, Yang and Meryl, have also progressed to the threshold of high-level professionals in a short period of time and will soon cross. At present, more than 2,000 magic apprentices of the Violet Academy are almost self-taught after watching the 3 magical popularization series of Zai, and there are many outstanding talents. At present, the study style of the entire Violet Academy is still very correct. It is not without fun, but it is almost non-existent. Most students spend almost all their time in magic learning. Of course, the fruit of this element is still in the experimental stage. At present, there are only 3 in the hands of Zai, and Solomon is the first experimenter to eat the fruit of the element. Since it was the gift of the blue and beautiful god, Solomon did not hesitate to take over the 4-colored fruit and swallowed it into the belly. The entrance is instant, soft, and smooth, and the taste is very good. Solomon closed his eyes, an intoxicated look, and enjoyed the taste of the fruit of the God-given elements. Soon, the fruit of the element began to function, and the blood and heart of Solomon were adjusted and transformed. It can be said that after helping Natalia awaken the blood of the hidden golden lion in the body, Zai can proudly say that his research in the blood has gone far beyond the blood family of all the people in the world. There is a small amount of blood of the elf in the fruit of the element. Yes, it is the blood of the body in the body of Zai. As a crazy arcane master, Zai does not have too many taboos. Moreover, these elves' blood does not transform the person who swallows the fruit of the elements into the blood of the elves. Only on the basis of their originals, they will make minor adjustments to the elemental affinity and the heart lake, and cooperate with the 4 basic elements. The magic growth rate will increase dramatically. The elemental fruit also contains all the inscriptions of 114 elemental elements. 1 element inscription is a spell model. As long as these spell models are regularly combined, you can display various magical elemental spells. The current elemental fruit can only accommodate the inscriptions of the first-order elements, and the high-level inscriptions of the middle and high-order elements also require the subsequent research and improvement of the Zai to be possible. Solomon seemed to wake up a lot in a flash, like a person who was covered in mud suddenly took a hot bath, and the distance between the whole sky and the earth was close, and the surrounding elements were not as awkward as before, but changed. It's much clearer. This means that his elemental affinity has been improved, and he has been very helpful in the spells of the elemental school. Moreover, he found that a lot of new knowledge suddenly appeared in his brain. The inscription of 104 elements was like a star in the sky above his heart lake, as long as he could analyze it one by one. This is too important for Solomon, and he finally has the confidence to continue to maintain his position as the chief archbishop of this glory from the Lord. Like the Lord's blue big god, Solomon quickly made a sacred etiquette, and he was a little bit erratic, as if he was stepping on the clouds. Zai held out a hand and held his shoulder. The silver moonlight infiltrated his body and began to treat him. When Solomon swallowed the fruit of the element, Zai directly opened the real magic eye to observe the changes in his body. Whether it was the blood, the improvement of the heart lake or the inscription of the elements, the process was still too fast and intense. It caused some trauma to Solomon's brain, heart lake, and blood. Only Solomon was enchanted by the gift of God and excited about his progress, so he was not aware of it for a while. Zai used the silver moon to cure Solomon's dark wounds in the body. This elemental fruit experiment should be basically smooth. After going back, it should continue to adjust and slow down the transformation process to avoid further trauma. At this point, under the sky, above the earth, the whole world has been attributed to the belief of the blue god. But most of the Smurfs still live in the original tribe. The sacred capital has been established, the Smurfs' will faith is entrusted to the Lord, then enjoy the grace of the blue and become a part of civilization. In the holy city and the holy land, there must be a magic school to cultivate more excellent temple priests for the temple. Solomon nodded excitedly, and he obviously supported this. The priests of the temple were the servants of the blue god, the priests were the most devout to God, and the priests had to grow. If you say that you are joking in the blue sap at the beginning of the Smurfs, but when 11 Wei and the music master Sophie exchanged the secrets of the gods and beliefs, Zai Wei began to pay more attention to the blue Big Meng. The temple of the gods is organized. To know that this is the only of more than 1 million magical races, although Zai Wei is still not exposed to the divine character, it does not mean that Zai Wei cannot try to establish and operate the church organization in advance. If the Arcane Empire, which can compete with the gods in the Zai Wei plan, cannot be established, then Zai Wei will retreat to the next level, and compete with the first Fatcherafat for the very powerful priest of the magic. For the magical education plan of the Smurfs plane, the magical academy of the holy capital is quite elementary and middle school, providing basic magic apprentices to the primary magician. For most gifted Smurfs, the educational time at this stage should be in the year. The elemental Holy Land is a place where middle and high-level magicians conduct deeper learning and research, and this will cultivate the most powerful core power of the Blue Great God Temple. The upper limit of the strength that the Smurfs can support has reached the level of the six-ring magician after the transformation of the underground demon to the elemental ocean. In other words, if you stay in the Smurf plane, you can't reach the master level. At present, the strength of the middle priests in the temple priests is basically the spirits of the various tribes. Their spiritual strength has already reached the standard, but they cannot grow because they are limited by thin elements. In Zai Wei, the element of the Orient 72 is used as a teaching material, and the bottom of the magical demon is transformed into the sea of elements. The elements of the entire Smurf plane are far more than 10 times thicker than before. Therefore, Zai Wei stayed in the School of Magic of the Holy Capital. This school of magic was named De Meng Shen College. The name was all the priests of the temple nodded in agreement. Zai Wei could not only agree. Solomon played his strong initiative and selected the sacred capitals and all the nearby tribes who were qualified to enter the Ding seminary in the shortest possible time, including the trainee priests who had entered the temple, reaching a total of 1,200. The rest of the people. Zai Wei, wearing a gold-lined blue robe, stood in front of the big hall of the Daemon Theological Seminary and began teaching the 220 new people. This time, the teaching of Zai Wei and Zero has been optimized several times. From Zero, it has taken 3 magical popular reading materials, and strives to achieve the most easy to understand and most reasonable planning progress, and still has enough room for enlightenment. Yang and Meryl also wore silver-lined blue robes, sitting on both sides of the auditorium, listening to the lectures of Zai Wei. It must be known that since the Blue Big came to this world, it has never been seen before, but this is the first time that his has appeared in front of the Smurf public. Therefore, the spiritual masters including Solomon, Aho, Red Fire, Amon, etc., all appeared in the auditorium, and listened to the guidance of the gods and adults with these young trainee priests. 11 Wei's lecture was in Chinese. Chinese has replaced the original ignorant word language of the Smurfs and became the mother tongue of all Smurfs. Using familiar Chinese again, Zai Wei also found a long-lost intimacy. His courses are profound and simple, and the principle behind the superficial phenomenon is snarled. Just like storytelling, it attracts everyone's attention. Therefore, whether it is Yang and Meryl, or Solomon's Red Fire, or the priests of these trainee temples, the listeners of all the gods are the masters of the gods, and no one runs out. This lecture lasted for 7 days and the number of students per day continued to decrease. This is not the apprentices can't listen to it, but the progress of the teaching of Zai Wei has exceeded the scope of what they have learned. It can only be filled with tears and grief, not under the strong insistence of Solomon and other temple priests. She left the auditorium. On the last day, the course has already covered the construction and principles of the last 16 high-order element inscriptions. To be honest, even the best wizards in Smurman, Aho, and Redfire are already incomprehensible. Only Yang and Mei Lil is still fascinating and listening to this class. After the endless trial of the river, their souls have condensed into a star treasure, although not as great as the achievements of Ziwei, but there is still room for improvement. This trial is enough to support them to the ranks of the magician, but both Yang and Meryl have chosen to accumulate and settle, and have more preparations to challenge. To know that the Westway mentor directly awakened the real magic eye of the horrible ability in the promotion of the magician, Yang and Meryl are very envious, and hope that they can get excellent feedback after promotion. Both Yang and Meryl are the most admired seeds of the Arcanists in Ziwei. Their accumulation in the elemental school is also very deep. Although the inscriptions on the 16 high-order elements that Ziwei tells are somewhat advanced, they can still understand. This is already it's awful. P.S. Actually still more than 100 words, time is not enough, first, and have not been modified, will change later. To know that the Westway mentor directly awakened the real magic eye of the horrible ability in the promotion of the magician, Yang and Meryl are very envious, and hope that they can get excellent feedback after promotion. Both Yang and Meryl are the most admired seeds of the Arcanists in Ziwei. Their accumulation in the elemental school is also very deep. The inscriptions on the 16 high-order elements that Ziwei tells are not yet to be continued. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 576. During the 7-day teaching process, the holographic video was turned on and the contents of all the teachings of Ziwei were recorded. After converting the language from Chinese to lingua franca, you can divide the chapters and modules into the magic classroom. This part of the course will be open to all the Violet colleges who have chosen the elemental school spells. As the arcane journals are about to go online, Ziwei also tries to release the strict control of knowledge and spells. Now the arcane theory and new spells, the widespread spread has become a more important thing to do. At the beginning of civilization, knowledge was only monopolized among a few people, such as the era of the ancient Chinese gates. For example, the magician inheritance system of the mainland of Orient. However, when civilization developed gradually, after entering the industrial age, knowledge was widely spread, and basic compulsory education was promoted on a large scale. Arcane replaces magic and must go through this gradual process. If Ziwei is still secretly keeping secrets of his own creation, thousands of arcane masters and core supporters of the arcane empire who accept the new theory of new magic will come here. Of course, the opening of these magical knowledge and spell inscriptions is not unconditionally open, but must be added to the system and forces of Violet. Ziwei firmly believes that Violet will be the most advanced and dynamic organization on the stage of the future world of the Orient world. After the 7 days of teaching, Ziwei returned to Violet Island. At this time, the exchange students from the Royal Academy of Magic arrived in Nanhai Town on the Violet. During the past 6 months, Nanhai Town has also become bustling. Merchants and small citizens from Palermo, Ajaccio, Toulon, and Marseille have moved into this beautiful town full of business opportunities and vitality, Nanhai Town. The total population has already exceeded 2,000, but most of them have not received the resident card signed by Violet Island leader Sylvester Frost. In order to obtain a resident certificate, it is necessary to make outstanding contributions to the Violet. The merchant mainly relies on taxation and settles for more than 3 years to obtain. Of course, if they are students of the Violet Academy, their parents and family members can automatically obtain the Violet resident status as long as they are willing to migrate to Violet Island. This restriction is very necessary. The island of Violet is only 19 square kilometers. It is not even as big as the sacred capital. The maximum number of people that can be carried is tens of thousands. As a resident of Violet, the welfare is much higher than that of ordinary people in other parts of the mainland. Although their lives are busy, they are full of happiness. This time, the number of exchange students from the Royal Academy of Magic actually exceeded 50. This is a very bad number. It is necessary to know that there are not 1,000 students in the entire Royal Magic Academy. The most prominent among the exchange students is undoubtedly Princess of West Asia. In the end, the only daughter of the French king, with the consent of Charles VIII, got the qualification to study in Violet Island. This is the first time she has left Wangdu Pai Li in 25 years, so she is in a very good mood. Along with the students of the Royal Academy of Magic, there are several magicians of the French Magic Guild, who are the future of Ilia. Zai Wei warmly received the exchange students, and rumors refused the request of Princess Lucia to live in Violet Fort, but arranged her in the most luxurious vacant villa in the villa area. The arrival of the exchange students has undoubtedly made the violin college's originally very active atmosphere a three-pointer. As of the July 1, 1787, the number of students enrolled in the Violet Academy has exceeded 2,500. The peak has passed, and the number of people who come to study in the future is gradually declining. The empty dorms, teaching buildings, and laboratories were all filled up by the freshmen. It can be said that more than 90% of the population of Violet Island are young people aged 15 to 25. They are full of curiosity and enthusiasm. I love learning because I came to this remote island and beautiful college because of the same dream of pursuing magic. Although the proportion of teachers and students in the Violet Academy has been reduced to a rare degree, it is necessary to know that traditional magicians generally only recruit a few to a dozen apprentices. However, under the rules and regulations of the colleges and universities of Ziwei, the entire college is still very well organized and full of order. In addition to selecting assistants and lecturers among the newly promoted magicians, Ziwei also introduced the official body of the student union, which is self-administered by the students. In addition, various learning and mutual aid groups, reading clubs, and interest groups have begun to spring up. I usually came out. Among the interest groups, the theater club where Mrs. Winschell is the president is undoubtedly the most popular club, and the popular enthusiast community led by Lista and Linden has attracted more and more freshmen to join. Almost all of the students at the Violet Academy are magic apprentices who have been enlightened by the 3 magical readings of Ziwei. They accept almost the same basic magic education. However, there are already a few sprints on the same starting line. The outstanding ones have left other competitors behind, revealing the corner of the head. The most dazzling is undoubtedly Esmeralda, who already has the reputation of Flower of Violet. Now she is already a magician of the ring, and she has become a disciple of Professor Christine. The future is very ambitious. Moreover, Esmeralda also passed the lecturer's assessment and successfully became a lecturer at the Violet Academy. She taught the basic spell model course for freshmen who just entered the school. It was well received by all students, so each class was full. Moreover, in the election of the president of the Violet Academy, Esmeralda, as one of the 10 candidates, won a total of 1,723 votes, far exceeding the sum of other candidates, without any suspense. The advantage became the first student president of the Violet Academy. In addition, the most dazzling is the 21-year-old former Cavalier apprentice Fraser, who achieved a great achievement and was promoted from a junior magic apprentice to a formal in 100 days. Magician. Even the genius girl Esmeralda spent a full 105 days to complete the transition from a magic apprentice to a magician, and Fraser reduced the record by another 7 days. To know that in accordance with the traditional magic apprenticeship system, a magic apprentice begins with meditation, experiencing the first, middle, and high steps, accumulating the magic to the limit of 20 magic apprentices, and then completing the breakthrough, at least 3.5 years. In the original tower under Gatlin's rule, this time was stretched to 10 years, and most people did not have the possibility to be promoted to the magician. However, Violet Academy's education in the Magic Apprentice stage can be said to be perfect. There are various basic theories, you can practice and master various zero-loop spells in the Western-style spell list, and whether it is a strong zero-ring spell or the casting materials can be exchanged as long as the credits of the basic course are completed. In addition, the newly enrolled students are very talented young girls from all over the French kingdom, so many of the freshmen enrolled in the first half have been promoted to high-level magic apprentices. However, Fraser's progress was still too shocking. At the moment he completed the promotion ceremony, he became the man of the entire Violet Academy and was known as the Violet Nova. Fraser is older than the average of the 16-year-old classmates, and he was very mature at the Legrand Knights College, so he is very mature, and he has not lost himself in the face of praise. On the contrary, it is more stable. Fraser's rapid progress is inseparable from one's guidance, that is, the vice president of the Violet Academy, Yang. On the Violet, Yang gave him a list of books. Fraser didn't waste time learning new knowledge even on the sea, and found the doubts after Yang asked for a book. Fraser's diligent study was recognized by Yang, and a relationship similar to that of teachers and students gradually formed between the two. Yang saw his own shadow in Fraser's body, although Fraser's age was 3 years older than Yang. But think about the fact that the Westway mentor has not spent his 17th birthday, and Yang is relieved. On the magical road, it is clear that the leader is the first. The 7 days at Damon Theological Seminary is a very great time for Yang to harvest. It can be said that from the beginning of the elemental school spell, to the elemental meaning of 72, and then to the final elemental inscription, this step-by-step progressive relationship makes Yang in the elemental school. The foundation is very solid. He has fully grasped the inscriptions of 144 elementary elements, and has begun the learning process of 48 elemental inscriptions. Yang knows how important Ziwei is to himself. Although he does not accept himself as an apostle, the mystery of any magical research is open to himself without reservation. It is obvious that Ziwei's mentor has high hopes for his future. Not only that, Ziwei Tutor also appointed himself as the deputy dean of the Violet Academy. In the days when the Ziwei Tutor was not in Violet, he was the actual manager and leader of the Violet Academy, and he also shouldered the teaching task, shoulders. The burden is very heavy. However, Yang arranged all his work very well, and he did not let go of his own magic research, teaching, and management, so he could only sacrifice his personal time. Although Yang is not very handsome, but it is very book-like, and he has mysterious dark-haired eyes, is the legendary mainland China, can be said to have a very good impression among all the girls in the Violet Academy. And unlike the president of Ziwei, Yang has never had a girlfriend, so many daring female students have repeatedly shown love in the dark, but unfortunately Yang has not accepted the feelings of anyone. As a high-level member of Violet, as one of the most trusted people in Ziwei, Yang has a clear understanding of Ziwei's Arcane Age plan and the mystery of the original contract. This heavy pressure naturally brings a strong sense of urgency. Responsibility. We must know that the fate of the future will compete with countless big men and strive to stand on the top of the world. Now, Yang, who is only a small middle-level magician, feels that his time is not enough. How can he experience the luxury feelings? At this moment, a prompt suddenly passed from Yang's Violet nameplate. Yang will psychic into it, only to find that Ziwei's spell list has added a new plate magic classroom. In the more than half a year since the Silver's spell list was put into use, more than 50 times of large and small, more and more functions have brought a lot of convenience to teachers and students. For example, with Yang's deputy principal's authority, he can award various tasks and activity rewards in the mission system. Now his authority has been able to reward all spells below the 4th ring and 500 arcane points. Violet professors, mentors, and even student unions all have their own authority to publish various basic tasks. The Arcane Point has been used as a universal virtual currency above the gold coins to circulate throughout the campus. Arcane Points can be used to unlock meditation gates, unlock spell models, buy magic potions, and even buy magical creatures. Therefore, the Arcane Point is very precious for every student. The current Arcane Point cannot be traded. Even the rich students can only rely on their own efforts to obtain Magic Classroom to undertake magic apprenticeship education. As long as it is a formal magician, you can enter it and start learning. In the virtual space, Yang gently pushed open a quaint gate engraved with the mysterious magic array, and there were 3 flashing screens in front of him. The introduction to the elemental inscriptions, the inscriptions on the inscriptions of the intermediate elements, and the inscriptions on the high-level elements are open to the first, middle, and high third magicians. Yang naturally unlocked all the permissions. He opened the initial elemental inscription course, and the surrounding scene suddenly changed. The figure of Ziwei instructor appeared in front of him. This is the first lesson of the elemental inscription series. I will first explain the overall structure and meaning of the elemental inscriptions. The figure of the Westway mentor nodded to Yang and began to teach. Yang responded to this. The magic classroom turned out to be the legendary holographic lecture. The content of the lecture was exactly what was said in the 7 days of the Daemon Theological Seminary. After listening to the first section, Yang found that there was still an option for troubleshooting. After pressing this button, Yang faced the figure of Ziwei instructor. After thinking about it, he raised a question related to the inscription of this element. The figure of Ziwei's mentor answered the questions he raised. Yang took a deep breath, and the upgrade of Western Way's spell list was really a small event, so that the students of the Violet Academy could directly listen to the guidance of the Westway mentor, which is a very rare opportunity. Moreover, the elemental inscription series unlocking condition is almost equal to 0. All formal magicians who have chosen the elemental school can start this course. As long as the content of the previous lesson is completed, they can enter the next lesson. As a result, the education system of the Violet Academy's magician stage has also matured, and the speed of student growth will be greatly enhanced.